The poor
Poor
guy.
Stephen.
Cultural shock.
He's scarred. He's scarred for life. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day, and welcome to an extra untucked edition of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast that's forced to sit under 3 high-watt fluorescent light bulbs without makeup at 2 a.m. And speaking of homophobic, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the man who's so American, when he sees a boomerang, he asks, did they leave a message? It's Steve, the cinema deacon. How's it going?
Aaron, great to be here and ready for another round of Thrash and Treasure.
Yeah, awesome.
Is that a new hat I see?
What? This whole thing? Are you kidding? Oh my God. People at home can't see it, but I'm holding up a black cap with the word Oscars on the front because it is a special gift from friend of the show and friend of mine, Jonathan X, who asked me for my mailing address. And I'm like, do I want to know or do I want it to be a surprise? And a week later, a box rocked up and I'm like, oh, what's inside? And I opened it up and it was an Oscars hat from last year's ceremony. So as you can see, there's a 96 on the back there,
Nice.
which is not only my favorite sleeping position, but also Atlanta Olympics.
Yay.
So I was very excited because Jonathan had done the nominations. Well, he's done them for the past few years, and he also did them this
Very
year.
cool.
It's a prize possession now. I'm so excited. It's just a hat, but it's not just a hat. It's a symbol of friendship, and it's a symbol of a kid who's a dreamer, and I still dream today of winning a major award. Probably won't happen, but
Was it the 96 Oscars last year then? Is that?
yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
this year's the 97th. And it's green too, so I'm going to wear it during the ceremony and pretend I'm part of the crew and be wearing it for when Wicked wins Best Picture. And I know I've said it 1,000 times already. A huge, huge thank you to Jonathan for this gift. I'm going to wear it every time I produce an episode that I'm not hosting because I can't wear a hat while I host. I get distracted for some reason. Anyways, guess what?
What?
God have mercy, because we have the Holy Trinity diva entering the Matrix today. So take your seats and swallow the pill of choice, the black canvas or the red stallion. But let's ignore the monkey on her shoulder and chase it up with a bourbon on ice before we hit the floor running all the way back before Sydney 2000, past the broken and twisted houses of E Street for a homecoming with her neighbors, John, Jen, Camilla, and Marion, the Addams family. Then 15 minutes later, we hear, Joe, come light my cigarette. So in I go into Nana's room with a match. Boy, is Nan a woman with standards, but not so fragile in asking where her absinthe is. But when you're in town, Nana is the last queen you want head over heels drunk at the wild party. I mean, who's not afraid of Nana Virginia wolfing down the entire Pacific Ocean's worth in a bottle till she's nil by mouth and fully trumped, only to wake up barely coping with whopper royal pains in poor Nan's head, which neither one of us come closer than ever to curing, leaving our poor, rebellious granny on the blacklist of every club in town. So it is with a silent seed that I knock here and tap from a whisper into the loudest voice as we join the voices of women all over this famous land in raising the siren and surrendering a huge expat g'day along with some femme claps for this soul sister, soul shaman who got locked up abroad for a broad range of stage and screen spots in Singapore, UK, USA, and Kenya. But can you feel the robotic love tonight? Because our love is on, this glamour's on, and we choose to love, date, repeat, a lot in this summer without men. Sorry, Steve. But Donna sweat hot stuff because Steve's the guy you call when the wicked cometh our ways. Unlike the girl who got away from home and away she tears in the rain down Sunset Boulevard, then up Washington Boulevard before roaring across the crossroads of America without permission like a vandal did once on this island. So please help this boy from Oz, who's still here, and one of my American followers, co-hosts, who's over there, while we dim the lights and shift into gears so we can steer this captain of creativity into our torture chamber across from MacArthur Park, which is the prime spot to rip our hats off, because once the Empire strips off and Mamma Mia, Jesus Christ, superstar, is that an invisible worm, or are you just unhappy to see me? Because that makes me Les Miserables. And whilst I ain't Lion King, we are meaner than that, usually, which is the importance of being earnest, I guess. Oh shit, can you hear the thunder? Oh god, I don't want the power to go out because I'm on the last page. But no more tears. Enough is enough, so it's best I move on because I'm going faster and faster to nowhere, and I barely remember yesterday. But luckily, we can open Pandora's box with this bad girl who works hard for the money, and heaven knows it's on my honor to showcase on the radio with unconditional love because we love to love Dr. Kaye Tuckerman.
Yay!
Welcome to the torture chamber. How's it going? Goodness gracious.
That
man.
was epic, and we must say that I'm not a doctor yet. I'm a nurse at the moment. I'm not a doctor for another 7-8 months. So
Okay. For those who are listening in 7 or 8 months' time, that plays out. So that checks.
That
so
does.
for now,
It's a
whoops.
valid point.
that absolutely does. Just we don't want to upset the academics.
To be fair, Aaron, I thought the question about thunder was part of your script. You played that in very well.
No, it wasn't. And it just freaked me out because, like, I love storms. I love thunder and lightning. And I live in Australia. You have to love storms. Otherwise, move. But I'm recording, so I can't afford for the power to drop out.
You worked it in like, do you hear the thunder? I was like, oh, shit, am I supposed to say something there? No. I was like, oh, that's...
Actually, what I did work in, which wasn't planned, was ripping my hat off. My Oscars hat. But anyways, I've come down now. Welcome to the show, Kaye. Looking at your resume. Goodness gracious. You have been hustling like nobody's business. On your way to getting a doctorate or becoming a doctor of the arts. Aren't you ready for a nap? I'm not joking. I read your resume, honey.
No.
And if you think I fit all of that into your introduction, no. There was so much I could. I'm just like, no.
Oh my God.
We don't have a year.
I must say, I was filming yesterday, and often when you have really early call times to film, you sort of get this panic of like, oh God, I don't want to be late for the call time. So I didn't sleep, and I had probably an hour nap before I had to be on set yesterday. And I tell you, by the time I got home, I was regretting my choice to do an early morning podcast this morning. I was like, I just need to sleep.
Oh, no, you should.
But that's why coffee. We have coffee.
Yes.
And we're
Dr.
good.
All the
And
caffeine.
I do have many days where it's like, oh, sleeping would be really great, really great. There's just too much to do. It's too much to
Tell me
do,
about it.
And
it's the thrill of it all that keeps us going anyways. That's the fuel.
Yeah, well, we were messing about that, Aaron. That when you've got this creative drive, and it's the thing that keeps fueling the world, and especially in dark times, it's when when creativity is at its best.
And look, art has always been there. Now we look at these stick figure paintings or drawings from 5,000 years ago in caves, and we're gobsmacked, absolutely marveled. I mean, these are very simple drawings that our kids could have done, but they're not. They're history and their culture, and they tell the story of the times. Like they're
Yeah, 100%. And you're both busy too. You're both busy creating all the time and doing amazing things. And, so yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm very excited to be here with storms and -7 in New York and probably, what is this, -4 in Atlanta.
It's 60 degrees here. It's beautiful outside.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's wonderful.
It's not that different here.
damn it.
At 2 a.m. and it's like 72 Fahrenheit here, which is about
Damn it.
22 Celsius. So it's about the same. Sorry.
Damn it. Yep, -7.
But Hollywood needs to move to Atlanta. Hollywood needs to move here.
Listen, that's probably a likely option, right?
Yeah, Georgia does have a great film industry, and I wish there was more.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yes. I mean, I am one of the biggest Walking Dead fans on the planet. So, yep, you got that market down there of all the zombies.
Yeah, that's true. True.
That's why you got excited when you saw Tonya Pinkins had been on my show.
Yeah. Well, Fear the Walking Dead, but I have another friend who was on Dead City, and then I have many friends who are on all of these varieties of Walking Dead shows, and I'm just obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Zombie shows should be like made daily, on a daily basis. My favorite is Kingdom. It's Korean, yes, and it's just the most fantastic zombie series ever. Yeah, and then there's We Are All Dead, also very, very strong, very good.
Everyone's gonna hate me for this, but I stopped watching The Walking Dead halfway through season 2 when Frank Darabont left. Because he was the reason why I was watching it. Like, I'm there for artists. There are a lot of shows, like topics that I love or whatnot. that I'd be interested in, but I just don't watch them because I want to see what certain artists will do with certain things. So that's why I don't watch a lot of pedigree TV that everyone watches. But so The Walking Dead, I'm so sorry everyone, but yes, no, I didn't get very far into season 2 because what he did with The Mist was amazing, and that should have been shit. Let's face it. But it was great.
Yeah, Mrs. Strong. So yeah, enough about zombies. I love zombies.
No, it's a great segue.
Completely unrelated to this future conversation, but my wife and I were going through the Matrix trilogies with my son just
Yeah.
to get him ahead of any natural spoilers in life. It's a series you want to experience before it's, completely ruined for you. And then as we were watching, this got scheduled. So at the end, I was like, hey, I'm about to, be in on an interview with Trinity's body double. And it blew his mind. No way. It was great. So I started chatting with Aaron about it, and he was mentioning how in the 90s, the Australian film industry was rapidly growing and expanding. Did you feel that changing shift in confidence from the Australian industry when you got involved in the second and third films? Learning from the directors as well as being Trinity's body double?
Yeah, the way it all came about was quite bizarre because I was studying at NIDA. I was about to finish my directing studies. My head of directing was the incredible Helmut Bakaitis. Helmut was a brilliant, brilliant head of directing. And I'd been doing a lot of directing internships through the year. And one of them was with Australian Theatre for Young People, which is an incredible organisation at the Rocks in Sydney. And one of the young ladies in the program, she worked as a script supervisor at Fox Studios, and she said, you should do film. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. My background's really been theatre to this point. She was like, no, you should do film. And I was like, okay, cool. What's coming into Fox? And she was like, The Matrix 2 and 3. And I'm like, cool. I'll be Trinity's body double. Kapow, kapow. And made this kind of off the cuff comment. And I heard nothing more about it. About 5 months later, I'm driving to school. At the time, I had this very short, very dark bob. I used to wear tracksuits and look hideous to go to school. And that particular day, I was like, Keiki, you better just level up a bit. You look like something out of Derelict Home, Zoolander. So this day, I'd put on knee-high black boots, black tights, a tight black top, and this long black coat that I had, and I'd slick my hair back. And I'm driving from the northern beaches of Sydney to NIDA, which is, a significant drive. And I was going through Mossman, and this call comes through, and she's like, "Okay, gotta go to Fox Studio now." And I'm like, "No, I stopped at traffic lights. I wasn't texting while driving." And I was like, "No, I'm going to school." She was, "No, go through the tunnel, take the left, drive into Fox Studio. You're going to meet Tim Littleton." And I was like, "What? What?" I was like, "Casting." She's like, "Yeah, you're going to meet the casting director for The Matrix and the cinematographer." And I'm like, "What?" And so I'm thinking, well, fortunately, I look the part today. So I drove up to the gates at Fox. I said, "Hi, I have a meeting with Tim Middleton." And they're like, "Yep, no worries." And I'm like, "Okay." So I drove in, met with Tim, who's just awesome. And we had a lovely chat, and met with Bill Pope, who's just, one of the best cinematographers on the planet. And they were like, "Yeah." They're like, "Why do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Well, to be honest, I'm studying directing. So, my background's been theatre, and I really want to learn about film. So what I would really like to do is, if I'm not called to stand by for Carrie Ann, I'd love to be able to come in each day and either, walk around with John Gator, or go to the art department, or sit with the Wachowskis." And they were like, "Great, that sounds great. Can you start tomorrow?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah.
jeez.
Yes, I can."
That's fantastic.
Yes. And so that started this year contract. But then what happened too, I was like, oh shit, I've now got to go to school and explain myself. And so I park at NIDA and I walk in. I'm walking along the corridors, and the head of technical theatre, Trevor, sticks his head out the door. He said, "Hey, morning, Kay." He said, "Look at you. You look like you're straight out of the Matrix." And I went, "No, no, no. No, 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 no." And so I continue on my way, and I knock on Helmut's door, and I'm like, "Hi." And he's like, "Kay, darling Kay, come in, close the door, close the door." And I'm thinking, oh shit, how am I going to explain this to him? Basically I was starting 2-3 months before I finished school, and I did need to do an internship with a big organization to be able to, part of my graduation. And he said, close the door, sit down. You need to sit down right now. I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what is going on? And in my brain, I'm going, how am I going to tell him that I need time off to go and do the Matrix? And he goes, no one knows yet. It hasn't been announced. I've just found out this morning that I've been cast as the architect in the Matrix 2 and 3. And I'm like, really? Have you now? Tell me about that. Tell me about the architect in the Matrix 2 and 3. So then he's telling me all about this extraordinary role, which is one of the most iconic,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest monologues in, in film history, and its helmet. And then there's this weird segue at the end of it. And it's a helmet that's just incredible. Like, what an amazing experience to be able to do the Matrix. I mean, everybody, they would just be chomping at the bit to be able to have such an astonishing opportunity to do the Matrix 2 and 3. And he was like, I know, I'm so excited and I can't wait for it to be announced. I said, look, while we're talking about the Matrix, how would you feel if I sort of left school tomorrow and started work as Carrie Ann's standby body double, picture double? And he was like, what? And I was like, well, seeing as you're doing it, I guess you can't stop me either. And he was like, oh my God. He was so supportive. He was so great. He, arranged for that to be my big internship with the Matrix. And that was a year of learning. It was really, really neat, And so definitely at that time in Sydney. So that was 2001, 2002. Fox Studios was buzzing at the time. And Matrix, because we were doing 2 and 3 back to back, we were using all the studios on the Fox lot, and
the cattle sheds, you mean? The cattle sheds.
Yeah. The cattle sheds. I know, where we'd all as children gone to see the cattle and watch men sort of hacking at logs and little chickens under warm lights.
I'll explain in a minute, Steve.
Steve's like, what? And then zombies would come in and eat everything. No. Yeah, but they ended up having to hire massive warehouses, out at like back of Mascot and Matraville to do. That's where we did the fall from the building was built in I did all the camera tests for when Carrie Ann falls out of the building, and it was extraordinary to be on that, on the rail with the seat and strapped in as they do the, filming, working out how they're going to film the fall and the big drop for the one of the most fantastic memories was the motorbike drop where amazing stunt woman from Queensland, Avril, she drove the bike off the scaffold. She didn't drive it off the scaffold, she was rigged in, and then they rigged the gymnast in, and the gymnast did the flip, and that was Daniel Bergio out of LA, who's extraordinary. Daniel also did the kicks, and there was another gymnast that did the flips, and then I did the land. Carrie Ann did the land as well, and she did a bunch of the kicks, and she did the famous take the helmet off and then create havoc. So just watching that being filmed was just extraordinary, like an extraordinary team of filmmakers, and the Wachowskis are second to none. Just extraordinary people.
Fantastic.
Every time I'm in Sydney, I love to do the Matrix tour where I walk around to all the filming locations and ask myself, what the fuck was going on in this scene? Sorry. Anyways, while we're talking about Stephen, and for our listeners at home, the Fox Studios, which is now Disney Studios in Sydney, used to be the Sydney Showgrounds, which is sort of like a fairgrounds, like carnival every year. They'll have the Royal Easter Show.
Oh, okay.
We have ours in September in Melbourne. So people, when you finish listening to this episode, go onto Spotify or Apple Pods or wherever you're listening and type in the Creationarium. So like a place where you create things, and you will find a show called The Creationarium, which is a show that I created and hosted and all that jazz, which is all about how in 1994, the Power Rangers movie was sent over to Sydney by Fox and the local electricians and carpenters and all that jazz. No one knew what they were doing, and they put together this film. So I found out this story maybe about 15 years ago, and I just thought it was such a wonderful story. I did want to make a documentary on it, but eventually I made a 4-part podcast series. So go check out the mighty movie Power Rangers, which is all about how the Power Rangers saved the Sydney film industry and made it what it is today, and gave them all the confidence to make movies like The Matrix and Moulin Rouge and Star Wars Episode 2 and 3 and a whole bunch of stuff. And ever since then, it's just been more and more and more big budget films being filmed in Sydney. And it all started with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, which was my jam when I was 10 years old. Now, still on Sydney, one thing I want to ask before we move on to the medal. You were the celebrity wrangler for the
Yeah,
Sydney 2000
yeah.
Olympics. What? When? Why? I need all the tea on this. I rewatched that ceremony recently about 4 times and I cried every time, like the opening and the closing, 4 times each. I absolutely loved it. And I was on a whole Olympics kick this year with watching all the ceremonies from like the 60s onwards. So
Yeah, it was I just finished the Boy From Oz tour at the time. I'd been on the road with that for 2.5, nearly 3 years. Incredible Ben Gannon had produced that tour, and Todd McKenney and Chrissy Amphlett and Murray Bartlett. We were all out on the road together, and it was one of those things as the tour was coming to an end. Of course, the next big thing coming in was the Sydney Olympic Games. And it's like, well, no producer of musicals is going to try and compete with that. So if you can't beat them, join them. So yeah, I joined the VIP team. And so we were looking after all the, all the artists coming in to do the opening and closing ceremonies. And it was extraordinary. Yeah, like Max Lambert at the helm of music and David Atkins and all these wonderful, wonderful creative beings, and used to hang out with Nikki Webster underneath the stadium. I love Nikki Webster. I'm going to say it over and over again. Nikki Webster is one of the most fantastic people on the planet, and she's just smashing it now with her school. And I love Nikki Webster. And I've done a musical as well with her brother, Scott, played my son in a show about ballooning at Parramatta. But yeah, it was unreal. And I mean, there's so many great memories of that, and, looking after all the extraordinary First Nations people who were flown in from all over Australia to perform the Awakening segment was just an extraordinary memory. Nikki flying, of course, great memory. But I think there's also the famous famous moment with the cauldron. We may recall.
yes, it took forever.
Well, it was amazing because I was sitting at the other end of the stadium because my boyfriend at the time was the production stage manager of that section, so he was underneath the cauldron calling the moment. And when all of that happened, because we'd done all the tests and it was all going well, but then you've got the night, you've got the live feed, and you've got Kathy Freeman standing underneath a burning waterfall with a with a flame and the thing's not moving, and all those incredible tech crew that were underneath, they all had like mag lights. They were biting mag lights trying to work out what the hell had happened, and they fixed it. But like everybody at the control tower was going nuts. I think I ran the 400 faster than Kathy Freeman to get from one end of the stadium to the other. We were just like, oh my God, oh my God. And then of course we have the power of editing, that when they edited that beautiful video, they just went, we'll just cut some frames out here of that bit where the whole cauldron just goes cuckoo, and shudders above Kathy Freeman. But I think one of the most amazing memories was actually with the closing ceremony, because we had a sports match in the stadium that went on and on and on. So it basically ate up all the pre-production time to put up the dodecahedron, which is the big
Weird thing. And opened up and
I mean,
came out.
the
And it was
most
weird.
yeah, right. The most extraordinary set. And of course, you've got on top of that extraordinary set, you've got someone who I just absolutely adore, is Christine Arnoux. And Christine's going to be up on top of this thing singing.
Yeah, my island time.
And it's like, oh, she's going to sing My Island Home. And of course, we've got no tech time. And I tell you, those crews, the lock and load crews, everybody on that Olympic Games team, just worked through the night. Talking about people needing sleep. I think those people are still sleeping. It was unbelievable. And to see that set come together, it was such a huge piece. And to watch everybody build it and put it on that field and get Christine on top of it and get her safe, it was a just extraordinary moment of, seeing something to come together. Yeah, it was the Olympic Games was really something to remember. Working with all the drag queens that came from all over Australia to be a part of it was just thrilling. The most wonderful people. Briefly saying hello to Kylie, who is one of the kindest kindest, loveliest people on the planet. Just awesome.
I should totally come on this show. Kylie, you should totally come on this show.
I know you want Kylie to come, but that was the segue we were talking about too, because we were talking about Dannii, because I love the Minogues.
Yeah. So I got a question about that later. So
Okay.
won't spoil it now.
Okay, good.
Because the way I worded it, I think you'll laugh.
Well, I love Kylie and I love Dannii and I love the Olympic Games. It was an extraordinary moment in Sydney history.
And the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games was the last Olympics that was declared the greatest Olympics ever. Sorry, America, who had it before and after us. But that ceremony with Nikki Webster, having her flying across the stadium, we were the first country to almost kill a child in the opening ceremony. Every other country's done it since.
We're more concerned with the medal count, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
But no, we did a lot of safety tests. Like, I mean, I wasn't involved with Nikki's casting, but I know that they did very many safety and confidence building tests they had, 3 potential hero girls. And Nikki was the most confident with all the flying, and she's just awesome. So go, Nikki Webster.
Thought you were getting like 3 backups just in case something went wrong.
No, just in case.
Live TV, people, you never know.
But I mean, the rigs that they put across that stadium, woo!
Yeah, it was like, what? I've watched every ceremony since like 1968 or something like that. And
unbelievable.
The way the technology has grown over time was amazing. But then we get to Sydney. Atlanta had some really cool things like shooting up the stadium and like giant dinosaur puppets. But Sydney took it to this whole new level that had these wires across the stadium to lift things up and people. It was like tram wires. It was like tram wires here in Melbourne, like above the streets. Just amazing. But go watch Athens. Watch Athens again, 2004, because their opening ceremony was, oh my God, holy crap. It was amazing. Like giant head and this thing, and there was some boobies and everything. And anyways, I could talk about this all day, but we are already going overtime. So speaking of men in tights, we're going to move on to the metal now. Have you had much experience with metal, heavy metal, glam metal, et al.?
It's more electronic dance music, but we do have the South Australian Dance Music Award for Broken and Twisted Auxiliary 1, which was one of the promo tracks for the Wolf Creek movie. And yes, and I filmed that music video on top of a mountain, freezing cold, in a bikini with a jacket.
That's dedication to your art, people. That's dedication to your art.
In Adelaide, on top of a mountain in winter. We were very cold. Yes. But listen, I love metal. Maybe I was a huge fan of Kiss growing up. And of course, so that's more glam metal. So, and then, when we were talking about this and you sent me Rhapsody of the Fire, I was down. I was down for it. And then I had to do a lot of, because I like to do a bit of research. And, I was just looking at the crossovers with Andrew Lloyd Webber and how much influence Lloyd Webber has had with metal. And, then things like Paul Williams with The Phantom of the Paradise.
We did him last week with Bugsy.
And then, Tommy, of course. And,
yes, Tommy.
There's some very strong choices. I did look up, was Stephen Sondheim a fan of the thrash metal? Stephen Sondheim was not. He was the antithesis. He was like, no, my art form of telling story through music and song. So he was not. But Lloyd Webber, very, 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 very much a fan. And you can really hear it. You can really hear it in his influences. And it was funny. I went to the 25th anniversary of the Phantom of the Opera musical on the Broadway. And they brought all the kids out from School of Rock. And all the School of Rock kids played Phantom of the Opera. And they put in a bit of a metal twist to it. And then Sarah Brightman comes out and she sings a Phantom of the Opera. It was a really great moment in theatre. It was really cool. Yeah, you can definitely hear it in Superstar. You can definitely hear it in Phantom.
Evita,
100%.
Yep.
And then you've got, Queen. Queen's not so much thrash metal, but there's definitely all the rock influence with We Will Rock You. And then, all the revusicals, as I like to call them, with, say, Rock of Ages. There's some really exciting crossover. And it's amazing how, listening to Rhapsody of Fire, how I was just like, you could literally turn that particular album into a musical without question. And I would go 100%. Yeah.
Just in terms of Sondheim not liking metal, that's okay. He's completely forgiven because Joanna Gleason came on this show and said Stephen Sondheim would love me. So that was my ringtone for a year,
What Joanna Gleason saying?
saying Stephen Sondheim would love you. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I have to like
He-
isolate that and put it on my phone. I didn't. I'm kidding, but he's forgiven.
Yeah, but no, I don't think that he would diss it because he was such a. I mean, Sondheim was such a brilliant musician. I mean, my God, like
It's very punk.
you can't get better than Stephen Sondheim. He's the king of musical theatre. But it's just a different style, a different style. But I think in terms of where I discovered in my research that the crossover happens is in the following 5 areas. I'll let you know: storytelling and conceptual albums, dramatic and theatrical elements, character-driven lyrics, vocal style and delivery, and visual and thematic imagery.
Well, that's it for Thrash and Treasure, folks. That's it. Kay has solved it for us.
That's it. We're done. Yep, let's go.
So after I get my Doctor of Creative Arts in shamanism and the creative practices, and I'll be moving on to my
Yeah,
thesis.
you can literally dissect.
Yeah. But there's this real emotional depth. Like you're dealing with such visceral, like primal emotion, that the emotional stakes is so high that you have this immense depth and vulnerability at a primal level. And there you have theatre. There you have theatre. So yeah, in my humble opinion.
No, that's absolutely spot on. We've like literally spent 4 years discussing this every single episode, so you're absolutely spot on.
Right.
They both feed each other and they both
Yeah.
reflect each other and they're both opposite sides of the same coin. So
Speaking of the metal, if you could pick your ultimate, most over-the-top rock star rider on a contract, what would you put in it? Meaning, what is something fun, obnoxious, absurd, anything that you could put in a contract and it will be done?
extravagance.
Oh, this is not a hard question. This is not a hard question.
Oh, good. Yes.
Outside my
thank
Winnebago,
God.
I would have a small hobby farm. And in one corral, I would have little miniature horses. And in the other corral, I would have a bamboo forest with pandas.
Oh my God. The heavens just opened up.
And what I would have is a figure 8 surrounding these two little corrals, and that would be my roller skating figure 8, where I could roller skate around my mini horses and my pandas in their
Yes.
bamboo.
Oh my God. I can picture this. I can picture it.
We're not having blue M&Ms, we're not having pink jelly beans, we're having 2 simple corrals. Mini horses, pandas, skating. That's it, the end.
That is wonderfully specific and detailed. Just
You're welcome.
perfect. Yes.
You're
Love it.
welcome.
I love it. Absolutely love that. How do we recover from that? My review. So this week I picked a band based on the search symphonic metal, and I came up with Rhapsody of Fire, which I always go to say Rhapsody of Fire. So I apologize if I say that in my review.
Like Melbourne.
No,
Melbourne.
Yes.
that's a deliberate defiance. This is a speech impediment. Anyways, so here goes. When I first decided to unwrap Rhapsody on Fire, I had no idea who they are, what they are, and what I should expect. So when the opening bars of doom-riddled Latin began, I was surprised. Res est ego sum, which is Latin for someone didn't get laid in high school. And as the fantastical Renaissance sound kicks in, one thing becomes clear. This is music fit for a tabletop game. Not that I would know. The only thing I ever do tabletop is dance. Don't judge. The music throughout is constant, and a lot, and constantly a lot. It feels like we're soaring over Asgard, and soaring, and soaring, and soaring, and soaring, and soaring. I'd like to get down now, please. Sure, they are super talented, but there isn't really any standout moments that differentiate themselves from the epic muchness, nor any standalone tracks that made me want to bop my head, unless you count Against the Wall. But it's not bad. It's just a bit too lacking in variety or a point of view beyond epic. So I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
Wow.
Idea and talent are there. The execution wasn't quite as baked as the band's target audience should be when listening to this album. So yeah,
No, I am
I don't know,
shocked.
I couldn't.
No, no, I'm gonna counter you.
No, please do. Please do tell me how wrong I am.
I'm gonna give it 9.5 stars out of 5 because this to me was groundbreaking. And I know that we're going to talk about Closer Than Ever, and what I would like to talk about is the alignment of both Rhapsody of Fire and Closer Than Ever, and their focus and on their heavy focus on emotional expression. Although in different contexts, Closer Than Ever is a song cycle that delves into the complexities of relationships and the passage of time. Whereas Rhapsody of Fire, despite its grandiose and fantastical themes, also taps into deep emotion. And songs like The Last Angel or Guardians deal with loss, hope, and inner struggle. So there is a great alignment between these two things that we're discussing. And so I'm going to counter you on the two.
No, please do. I listened to this about 15 times and it is a lot.
Yeah.
We call this a torture chamber at the start of the show for a reason, because it is. It can be something chronic for me sometimes. Like there were some great moments in this, but they were just never enough. Like it would
Yeah.
slow down to come to a breakdown or whatnot,
Yeah.
but it would just go back into the the speed metal was just obviously programmed drums, but like the vocals were great. And you're right in terms of the emotion and the storytelling was
Yeah.
there, but it was just too much. There was no standalone song that I could take out and put on a playlist, which is kind of what I look for with these metal albums because it's not my genre, but every now and then we do come
Yeah.
across songs that I'm like, this is amazing. It has to go on my playlist.
I'm sorry you had that
So
experience.
No, I'm rapt that you loved it. I really am. Yeah, think about it. We're giving classy Broadway people this death metal and thrash metal, and people come in and love it, and it's validating. Some people won't love it, obviously. But anyway, Steve, you are
Yeah.
clearly desperate to talk about this album. You've been desperate for a week.
I am, and I'm disappointed that no one mentioned the bagpipes. There were bagpipes in these. This was great. I loved it. I mean, this is the best album you've thrown at me so far, Aaron. So thank you for that.
No worries. I'm just going to quickly go top up my coffee, and then I got to let the dog in. Yeah.
Let the puppy in.
It's
Let the
probably
puppy
soaking
in.
wet out there from the
Yeah.
storm. Just be a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but I'm with you, Stephen. Well, he's gone. And look, I called Rhapsody of Fire and they speak very highly of Aaron. And so this is a bit mean.
I know he's so disrespectful. It's ridiculous.
Wow, harsh, that guy.
Man.
Wow,
I mean,
really.
I should just kick him off and take over this whole thing. You know,
I mean,
he's
listen.
not. Aaron's not really needed, right?
I mean, coffee and puppies. I mean, there's a good priority there. But look,
Yeah, where's his
I'm
priorities?
with you. I'm with you. I loved this album. I loved it. And the bagpipes too, it took me out for a second. And then I was like, no, why not? I'm down for it.
I went in blind, and
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons I enjoy
Yeah.
doing this is that I go in blind. I don't know anything about the
Yeah.
album or the artist, and because
Yeah.
he's not throwing Metallica at me or Black Sabbath or anything,
Yeah.
he's throwing really unknowns. And when it started off, it was like very theatrical, to use the overused word
Yeah,
here, but there's a build up and a build up, and then I start hearing some bagpipes in the distance, like, okay, we're gonna go in a corn sort of direction. No, not at all. Then you get the symphonic elements, and then the riffs come in, and then you've got this guy who sounds like Dio coming in with this amazing voice, and it's just over and over again. And to me, the word epic is overused. It doesn't have the same meaning as its actual definition.
Yeah.
But this album fits it. And I don't have the definition in front of me, but like a long narrative journey sort of thing, an epic.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And I just what I love too that I was gonna is, and it's not just Rhapsody of Fire. It's a lot of these thrash metal bands. Is they're careerists. It's like their musical development spans decades, and you can just as they age, their music sort of ages with them, and their depth of their life experience becomes such an integral part of their thrash. And I just.
Yeah.
I just loved it. I just thought it was so fabulous. And they've got quite an interesting history in terms to how the band kept, morphing and shifting and changing, and a few different legal battles with who owned what and the rights to which particular songs and what they could and couldn't use, and fights, which was, it's always a shame when there's fights in creative realms. But I just love this. I just thought it was fantastic.
I have revisited the song "Winter's Rain" several times. 7 minutes. It doesn't just have a chorus and it's got movements in this whole song, and I mean you can visualize a woman in a bikini on a mountaintop fighting a dragon.
All that imagery was there. I completely agree. It was just too much the same constantly the whole time, over and over again.
It was balanced by the bagpipes.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah, the bagpipes really soften things.
I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5, strictly because there were several songs I couldn't listen to in the US. No matter what platform I went to, they were grayed out. I couldn't listen to them for whatever national copyright reasons.
Wow, geo-blocking.
Next time, just let me know and we'll send some emails.
Geo-blocking.
There are ways around it, but I wasn't, I didn't have time.
The problem with the bagpipes just weren't quite meaty enough that I couldn't wrap my fingers around them.
It's all right. And to all those bagpipe players out there, all props to you all. Out you go. Go play.
I did not know symphonic metal thrash was a thing, let alone out of Italy. So rock on. I loved it. Recommend.
Yeah, me too. Everybody go listen to Rhapsody of Fire. Yeah.
I'm part Italian, so I can say this. But they are crazy over there. I love them. I love Drag Race Italia. It is one of the craziest of all the franchises.
That's a connection there.
There is a connection.
You go from Rhapsody of Fire to Drag Race in Italy. Got it.
And I'm just talking like backstage, not even on stage.
Yeah.
That and the judge, Chiara Francini, she is just cuckoo, batshit crazy, and I love her. She doesn't shut up. I mean, it's not about her, but stop it, honey. But I love her so much. They're just all crazy. And yes, I'm like the tiniest bit Italian I can say that. I'm so sorry to our Italian listeners. I love you. I'm saying this out of love. I'm not saying this.
Oh my God, this is good.
There's anything harsh, but yes. Anyways, I'm not allowed to say this. I'm so sorry. Anyways, we're going to move on. I don't know. Maybe their other albums are better. Just this one, it was just too much. I couldn't do it. I don't know. And if there was different voices throughout, maybe I could have, but it was all just the same.
Yeah. Look, I was immediately imagining how it could be turned into a musical. Immediately. And I was like, call their management, get them onto it, get them to start. Adapting this for the Broadway stage. I thought it was just unreal. I thought it was like the punch in the face that, you go and see some nice, lovely Broadway shows, and then you go and see Rhapsody of Fire Broadway, and it's just like, kapow! Just like, like,
take that, New York.
Yeah, take that, New York. It's like the Sunday matinee show when you've seen 11 shows that week and you just go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to 11. And then you go see Rhapsody of Fire on the Sunday, 3 p.m. and you just go, kapow! And you go, yes, that's how you take out the week. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, adapt it, do it. Yeah. In fact, I'm seeing Andrew Lipper today, and I'll tell him to, and I know you've had Lipper as a guest, and so...
Tell him I say good day.
I will. I'll tell him you say good day.
Tell him, please come back on my show. I'd love him to come back.
Yeah, 100%. We're having Ty.
When he was on the first time, it was like episode 23 or something. Now we're like 120 something. So I'm so much better now, Andrew. I'm so much better. I'm so much more confident. Our questions are better. We had a crazy time last time too, but this time we have a wonderful time.
Oh, he would love all of that. He would absolutely love it. Yeah. Yeah,
that was actually the whole invite. He tweeted something like he wants to do something crazy. And I'm like, then come on our show because we're crazy. And he did. Anyways, enough virgins have been sacrificed. So we're going to go to an ad break.
Hey!
From the producers of Thrash and Treasure, around the world in 80 plays. Starring the adorable Lizzie B and Alfie Parker, and featuring the star of the show, Dolly the dog, they'll take you for a trip around the UK, exploring the rich arts and cultural history. But here is a sneak peek.
And week we're in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Scotland!
Every theatre really has ghosts, but we're in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is known for its spooky ghosts. So why don't you...
Yeah, I've done my research, and I might have had an experience of my own.
Oh.
Right, so, I am a true believer. Alfie is definitely more sceptical, but I believe in ghosts wholeheartedly. Like, I love watching paranormal programs. We watch a lot of celebrity ghost hunters. I just love it. I just kind of think, like, what's the point in not believing?
Yeah, my issue, right, I want to believe that there is something there. I think ghosts is a nice idea.
As long as they're nice ghosts.
Yeah, as long as they're not throwing things around. You know, like, no, because they grab me legs and go, bleh, all of that.
That's never happened to you, has it?
No, but you hear stories of them being like, get out of my house, and they're rattling everything and all of that stuff, and it's just a bit...
Oh, please. Right, so anyway, theatre ghosts is like a massive thing. So I'd say probably every theatre in the world has a ghost.
Yeah.
But with Edinburgh being such a historical place, the Festival Theatre actually has 3 ghosts. And I had an experience with one of them, which I'll talk about later.
We had a brief experience.
Don't spoil it, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Right, I'm going to talk to you about these ghosts. So the first one, the most famous ghost at the Edinburgh Festival Theatre is called the Great Lafayette. Lafayette? Hamilton reference for you. That's not who it is, but he's called the Great Lafayette. One of the most celebrated illusionists of the early 20th century. Do you know what an illusionist is, Alfie?
Yes, you know, kind of like disappearing in smoke and, you know, swords. And it's like a branch of magician, right? Yeah. Thank you.
So kind of like Houdini.
Yeah,
yes.
I wanted to say Houdini, but yeah.
Cool. He was the highest paid entertainer in theatre at the time.
When was this?
In the early 20th century. Okay. Do you know when that was?
Do I know when that was?
Yeah, what year are we sort of talking there? Early 20th century?
1920 something?
Earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 1900s.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right.
Well done. This is going quite well.
I've got my GCSEs.
And apparently he was a very lavish performer. And so that brought the audiences in, which kind of justify that he was getting paid all this money.
Right.
So, spring of 1911, he was performing at the Edinburgh Festival Theatre, and he did his finale, which was called The Lion's Bride. And what he did in The Lion's Bride is he would swap places with a lion live on stage.
I mean, you are asking for trouble.
No. See, this is the thing. It's not that went wrong.
Oh, right, okay.
So this Lion's Bride thing happened successfully, and then out of nowhere...
Which street, which house, or where I was before, where I was before.
We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Steve. No, I'm not. We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's Steve. And we're in a Denver Dream today because we're joined by soon-to-be Dr. Kaye Tuckerman. At Denver Dreams was Pete Ballot and Donna Summers' first collaboration. So it was a little deep cut there for you. Anyways, if the performing arts had an Olympics for amateur artists, what events would you want to watch people competing at? And what discipline would you compete at to win gold? So imagine like an arts Olympics where you got things like Battle of the Bands, and you got dancing competitions. We got ballet, and you've got group dancing and calisthenics and things like that. You got singing, you got opera singing, you've got group singing like glee clubs and things like that. Like, why don't we have our own Olympics to showcase all the incredible artists around the world? We already compete.
The Arts Olympic. Okay,
the Art Olympics.
You have to do jazz hands.
Yes, all the time, every day.
You have to do solid jazz hand competition. And I'm going to say it, there's not enough silks in musical theatre. There's not enough people just winding themselves down from the grid on their silks. So I think we need to have silk competition as who's going to be the strongest with the silks. And I think what's important too is I have this sick fascination with fake bands when the performers are made to be an orchestra.
There was just a show on it, Green Room 42, Fake Bands, Real Songs.
Oh, fake bands.
Produced by Spencer Share, our co-host.
Hey, there you go. So yeah, that would be my three. It's the jazz hand competition, the silks competition, and the performers who don't play musical instruments being forced to pretend they are professional musicians playing fake instruments on stage. Like they're my three.
Like lip syncing for drag queens, but for bands.
Oh, yeah.
For musicians. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to see those hands look realistic, people.
Yeah. And when you're trying to do a dance routine, but you're also trying to fake play a saxophone. And there's like, this is a bit of a segue to Pete Bellotti actually, because the opening number of the Donna Summer musical, I had to play a piano, which was moving on a truck. So I'm fake playing while singing while moving on a truck. There's a lot of degrees of difficulty there.
Wow.
Oh, it's a Pete Bellotti. Oh shit! Sorry,
Yeah, Pete Bellotti.
Sorry, Pete Bellotti. I always thought it was Bellot. Please come on my show.
Pete Bellotti, pretty special, lovely
Wow.
human being. Yeah.
And so, what would you compete at?
What would I compete at?
Filmmaking? Would it be singing, dancing?
Oh, what would I compete at?
Oh, superhero landing.
Superhero. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's the best one. Yeah, doing superhero landings on roller skates. I do love roller skating on stage. So any opportunity to, if there was the roller skating on stage competition, I would participate in that. Like I'm very excited because Starlight Express is back. Like I will be seeing.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, West End. Yeah, they've done a rework of it. Yeah, it's pretty epic.
I've seen the videos of the behind the scenes and creation of the original run, and it's wild.
Listen, it's wild. I worked with the amazing Carol Todd on Elvis the musical in Australia, and I was kind of a bit, not even borderline, stalker obsessed with her. And I was like, "Oh, Carol, I need to talk to you." And she was like, "Oh, what about, darling?" And I'm like, "You know what it's about." And she was like, No, I don't know what it's about. What do you need to talk to me about?" And I'm like, "You know what it's about, Carol." She was like, No. And I'm like, "It's about Starlight Express." And she was like, "Oh, yes." So she worked on Starlight Express for, the whole run, those early times in London. And I trained with Starlight in London when I was on break from WAPA. And I said, "I just want to do the show so badly. I just really want to do the show." She was like, "Oh, darling, let me start with this. At the Victoria Palace, every show at the stage door, we have 2 ambulances parked. And every show, those ambulances take people away." And I was like, "Oh." And she said, "Do you still want to do the show?" And I was like, "Is there a singing track where the roller skater just rolls on and then rolls off?" But yeah, I mean, that original stage design in the Victoria Palace in London, I mean, it was 2 levels, and those amazing stunt skaters out of Japan, they're just doing the most insane tricks. And then you had like Bochum in Germany, like that was in a big stadium there.
Still running.
Yeah. Like they've sort of just blocked them into the tracks. They actually
Still rolling.
They're still rolling. I get it.
Yeah.
They can't get out, So yeah, Starlight Express, so good. I would roller skate on stage, and I would that would be my number one. Roller skating on stage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And a little connection there. Donna Summer, Starlight Express were both sound designed by Gareth Owen, who has also been on this show. Anyway, Steve.
So in all that, have you ever seen a theater ghost?
Ooh. Not just a ghost. Not just a normal ghost, like an actual theater ghost.
How do you know they're theatrical? The theatrical ghost. Yeah, and do you know, the theater ghost, I've seen the Princess Theatre Ghost at the Princess Theatre in Melbourne.
Frederici.
Yep, Federici. Yeah, and it was during Boy From Oz. We were doing Boy From Oz in Melbourne in '99. And it was one of those things that there was several of us that saw Federici up in the balcony, and we were all kind of like, we sort of, none of us really wanted to say anything. And then someone finally went, "I saw it." And there was 3 or 4 of us that all went, "Oh shit." Like we all saw Federici. But there's the amazing theatre in, it was when we were in Mamma Mia in Macon it was either Macon or Athens. I'm going to say it was Macon. And it's the theater we were in is where they had the very top balcony, where they still had backstage. They had the ladder that you could go up to that level, and it was the level is during segregation that the level. And so we saw the ghost up there.
Oh wow.
Wow.
100%. Yeah. And the ghost tours. I mean, we didn't see the ghost in the Savannah theater, but there was all the ghost tours in Savannah. It's just huge fan. I love the other world. I love the realm, the veil. Yeah.
Very cool.
Now, before we move on to the musical, you made your Broadway debut in Summer, the Donna Summer musical, playing her songwriter, Pete Bellotti. We'll have questions about that later, but firstly, what music artist do you love that you hope never, ever gets a jukebox musical?
That's a good question.
Never, ever.
You just don't want to ruin their music with having an ensemble sing them.
Easy. Kate Bush.
Yep. Wow.
Kate
yes.
Bush.
Yes.
I do not want Wuthering Heights done as a 30 ensemble member contemporary dance presentation in a musical.
And you know Babushka will be a literal, actual Nana Babushka walking out while everyone in the village sings about her.
I think what even would be more challenging to watch would be violin. The violin ensemble number with 30 ensemble members with fake violins, all playing fake violins. No. Kate Bush. Yep, I do not want to see a Kate Bush musical. I want to see everything Kate Bush does. I want to listen to everything Kate Bush has recorded on repeat. Yeah. And in fact, talking about Boy From Oz, the amazing choreographer of Boy From Oz, Anthony Van Last, who's unreal, who's also the choreographer of Mamma Mia, and I love Anthony Van Last. Again, talking about semi-stalking Carol Todd regarding Starlight Express, I majorly stalked Anthony Van Last because Anthony Van Last was Kate Bush's choreographer. So he choreographed Hammersmith and many of Kate's concerts and music videos, and so I'm obsessed with him, and I'm obsessed with all the Kate Bush stories. I love Kate Bush.
So we're Olympics. I remember 2012 London Olympics. There was this whole buzz of, is Kate Bush going to perform? Will she be there? Will she finally come out of retirement? And it was literally like they played Running Up the Hill while a bunch of people put fucking boxes on the stage and then removed the boxes from the stage. It was nothing. So disappointed.
I didn't know who she was until Stranger Things.
What?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
Wow.
There's all kinds of honesty coming out on the show today.
How do you know?
It was never my realm of music in the 80s, so...
I love that song, but I've always known who she was because, I had a sister who was a lesbian, so...
And of course, I mean, even with Handmaid's Tale, when the song was, when it was re-released for Handmaid's Tale, a real resurgence, and just such a extraordinary artist. I mean, what a writer, what a voice, what a
No musical.
Kate Bush.
Please come on my show.
Bow down. Yeah, but no musical, no Kate Bush musical. No.
Anyway, so speaking of musicals, we're going to move on to the musical now, and we chose Closer Than Ever. So, Steve.
All right, so. Thank you, Aaron, for assigning Closer Than Ever, the 2012 off-Broadway cast.
You're welcome.
This was one of an unexpected journey for me because I knew nothing about it, but I did enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Without any knowledge, though, it did catch me off guard. The show adapts more of a review-style format rather than a linear storyline that I am used to. Kind of a collection of songs, each telling their own unique story. And it's a bit disorienting until you realize what's going on. I'm 2-3 songs in, I'm like, this isn't syncing with me, but I'm enjoying the song. Like, okay, I guess that's the theme. Let's keep rolling with it. As the music played on, I found myself more intrigued and captivated by the raw emotional power from each song, because each one is extremely emotional, and that's a kind of a key word through the whole thing. It almost felt, as we were talking like Sondheim earlier, but the Sondheim influence here, like B-sides from Company and Merrily, take them and you've got yourself a nice review. That's what the feel of these songs were for me. They were rich with life's complexities, touching on themes from love, aging, parenting, personal growth, all with arrangements that is almost just piano. There may be a couple of things here and there, but it was like just piano, and that amplified it. It was great. Now, what I didn't anticipate in the whole thing was how deeply I would connect to some of the lyrics, specifically as a father. Several songs struck a chord with me, evoking a whirlwind of emotions as I watch my kids grow up and do great things, and it's amazing. But I am an American manly man's man. I keep my emotions bottled up on the inside where they belong. But If I Sing, the song If I Sing hit me, and it hit me hard. I'm in my car, I'm driving to work. This is when I listen to these albums all by myself, and I welled up. I'll be honest. It just that one. There are other songs that try to reach that moment, but I think they try a little too hard. If I Sing was honest and raw and just right at the just perfect amount to like break open my hard exterior shell here. But in conclusion, closer than ever. Not the conventional music experience. It's a gem for anyone that wants to appreciate the art of songwriting, human connection to music, and the power of music to move us all.
Wow, usually I'm the crier on this show.
If I Sing, man, I mean, as we've talked, I haven't mentioned, my son is a performer. He's been on stage. He does that sort of thing. So it was just that it hit me. It hit me hard.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't want to listen to that song again. I mean, it was that good. I don't want to hear it again.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. And I did a showcase for Maltby and Shire just recently at the Cutting Room. They were acknowledged with a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it was such a thrill to see them. And David Shire is one of the kindest, funniest, smartest, sharp as a tack, most wonderful human being. And Richard Maltby Jr. just, equally as wonderful. And they write these wonderful, quirky, like things like crossword puzzle, things like Miss Bird, which I sang back on bass, is also very funny. So they kind of suck you in with these adorable, funny, quirky sort of tunes with these very clever, whip smart lyrics, and then once they got you, they give you the I Sing. There's, Baby is another musical. Story Goes On, which if you haven't heard Story Goes On and I Sing made you lose it, Story Goes On will make you just crumble. And it's sung, the famous recording sung by Liz Calloway. And, Liz's voice, the vocal tone and expression in her voice is just thrilling. With that particular song, she's talking about, this child that is about to come into the world, and is she going to be enough to bring up this child on this planet? And it's just like, oh. And so they really get you, and it comes from their own intelligence and humanity and empathy and kindness and compassion for people and the planet and the world, and how we interconnect as human beings on this, space that we share. And they're just the loveliest humans. So yeah, love it.
David's married to Dannii Khan. What?
I had a wonderful time chatting with Dannii.
Wow, Frenchie from Greece, like queen, goddess.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and Greece too. Oh my god. Yes.
Greece too is a
my
highlight.
God,
Dannii is the most wonderful human being, so funny, so delightful, so on it, so the warmest, most inclusive, wonderful human being, and funny.
Goddess.
Funny. Goddess, she really is. And I was like, oh, hi Dannii, I'm Kaye. I did take flight and Closer Than Ever in Australia with David. And she said, I know exactly who you are. I know all about the affair. And then she ran away, and I was like, oh
Ah.
what are you talking about? I didn't have it. I know you did. And I'm like, I didn't. God. And she's screaming, laughing, and David's like, I don't know.
If you're listening, please come on the show and make this little Aussie gay boy so happy. Grease 2 is my jam. Oh my god, I love it. Just epic. Yes.
Grease 2. No, Grease 2 is epic. Michelle Pfeiffer in Grease 2 is unreal.
Cool writer, yes. Who's that guy? And Back to School and Reproduction by Tab Hunter. Talk about sexual awakening.
Yeah.
When you mentioned crossword puzzle,
the
first words I heard in my head were, I am sitting here doing lessons times crossword puzzle. Know that we did that in my acting school cabaret. Yep. And so when I did acting school, we were under 18 years old, so between like 7 and 17 or something like that. And for some reason, it was appropriate to give Miss Bird to a 14, 15, 16-year-old to do in the cabaret show, as well as like Cell Block Tango and a whole bunch of other songs, like 17, bunch of songs that we probably should not have been doing as teenagers in front of a drunk adult audience. But it was the 90s. It was wild. Yes, age appropriate is definitely a thing.
Age appropriate.
Yeah, so I knew Miss Bird, and I knew Opening Doors.
Oh yeah.
And Three Friends, which I always get mixed up with. Hey, old friend, which I know is completely different musical and completely different song.
Yes,
but
that's different. And he wouldn't like. Oh no, Sondheim would love Maltby and Shire.
That's
Yeah.
what I was saying, that some of these
Yeah.
felt like B-sides of Merrily, like they could have been inserted into those Merrily and Company, into those stories, just like
Yeah.
Three Friends.
Yeah, so I've heard this quite a few times over the years, maybe not necessarily as a whole each time, just the songs that I knew.
Yeah.
But I will say, with all respect, it was quite the experience to go from Rhapsody of Fire into Closer Than Ever, because you've got too much and sometimes not quite enough, because some of these songs are absolutely amazing. And
Yes.
having just a piano, I do want more from them. I want to hear Where Can You Take Them Now? I've heard them, both albums, like the original recording and this one. There are such good songs, such meaty songs in there that they could be expanded, I think, orchestration wise. And I mean this with all due respect.
Yeah, I don't know if when we did it in Adelaide, when we did it with Adelaide, we did it with a 16-piece band.
Yes.
Yeah, so because Miss Bird, I had a full band behind me, and the bassist was on, like, I was writhing with the actual bassist playing the actual bass. I was not 16 at the time, so maybe I was age appropriate to do it. But no, I wonder if there must be an archival recording of that somewhere. And it was a really good cast, beautiful Anne Wood. The recording that you listened to, the one with the amazing, my beautiful friend Christy Ann Knoll, she's singing on this recording. But the original recording of this was from the 90s. So whether they've got more band on that recording.
No, I don't think it did. I couldn't find it on Spotify.
I mean, I think they do like to keep things sparse. Like, they don't go like overboard. But even when we did the cutting room, we had 7-piece band at the cutting room.
Yes,
and that was pretty banging. Banging. That sounds like a Miley Cyrus term. God, it sounded so cool there for a minute. It was.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love you, but no, I'm sorry, it didn't.
It didn't. Oh, damn it.
I'm kidding.
Damn it.
I'm kidding.
No.
If you hadn't have said that, I wouldn't have denied it. I sort of walked into it.
Cut that bit out. I'll just leave a little pause
No.
here.
No way. No way.
You said if there's something I say that's really daggy, we'll just cut it out. It's like, so we started with Matrix. We can't now go banging and Miley Cyrus. No, I love Miley. Yeah. I think they really come from a very honest place as songwriters. So if something's not needed, they don't add it. Unlike Rhapsody of Fire, where they add bagpipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. Just good people. Really good people.
Which may be why I struggled with Rhapsody so much, because I would then go into this, where it's a lot more sedated, and a 2-disc CD, so it's quite long. And Rhapsody was so long as well, so I didn't realize it was like 2.5 hours of music. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't realize. It was a lot, basically, just as an experience. But look, I love the music out of Closer Than Ever. Some of these songs are fantastic. They're great for cabaret. But I just think going from one to the other, one I wanted a little bit less and one I wanted a bit more, just to balance out that listen. But had I listened to them individually on their own, I don't think I would have had that reaction.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Yeah, it's definitely the extremes there. Here you go. You can't see this on the radio, but there's me with Dee Dee Con.
Oh,
there's
wow.
Dee Dee. She cute. She's really cute. There's me with Richard. We love him. And there's me with beautiful Shire. And I think what's great about showing photographs on podcasts is the visual impact.
It's 3 a.m. in Australia. I'm sorry. I love you, listeners, but there's no fucking way in hell I'm letting people around the world see me at this hour or any ridiculous hour that we record. I'm sorry. Just my vanity comes first when it comes to this. And then guest privacy. And I say that to every PR company too. I say, first and foremost, it's going to be 3 a.m. There's no fucking way I'm letting the world see me like this. So no, we're audio only. I am so sorry. You just have to put up with it.
Oh my God. What sort of puppy father are you? You left your puppy out at 2 a.m. What sort of...
But she needed to wee. Because she'd been inside, through this 6-hour storm. So I had to put her out to the toilet. And I don't know why they've done this way. This is completely irrelevant. My parent just got the front of the lawn dug up and put a fake lawn in, and then leftover bits, they've put that outside the back door. So now I'm expecting the puppy to think that it's grass and to shit on the fake grass outside the freaking back door because she's used to the fake grass out in the backyard. They're asking for trouble here. I could just tell. Anyway, sorry. Where are we up to? Now, there was a reason why I wanted to do this particular musical with you, Kay, obviously because you had sung Miss Bird, but there was a post that you posted on Instagram recently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elaborate on that on Instagram. I'm going to do a whole post and explain why we've chosen to do Closer Than Ever today. Just a quick question here, and then we're going to move it on. If you could cast a musical using only the guests on our TNT guest list, which musical and who would be your cast members?
Ooh. Okay, you know I'm obsessed with Tonya Pinkins.
Yes.
And what you don't know is that I'm also obsessed with Blood Brothers.
Okay,
I would do a production of Blood Brothers with Tonya Pinkins as Mrs. Johnson. And I think she would just smash it. Oh, yeah, Tonya Pinkins, she's so extraordinary. I saw her first in Caroline or Change in London, and she was just unreal. When she got to Lot's wife and she just lost her mind. I mean, that was symphonic thrash right there on the West End stage at the National Theatre. And I was just like, this woman is just astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. Okay, so we're going to have Blood Brothers. We're going to have Tonya Pinkins as Mrs. Johnson. Oh, let's do Alison Fraser as the other lady who wants to have the baby but can't. So let's have...
I don't know. Marilyn Monroe's the only other character I know, and it's a song.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Alison is going to play the woman who can't conceive. And then, so Tonya's got the twins. Oh, I'm seeing Orfeh on Tuesday night, actually. She's in a new musical. So Orfeh can play Linda. She'll be great at that. And then we're going to have the narrator is going to be played by, who's going to play the narrator? Ooh, let's have... Tony Shelby. I love Shelby.
It's a smorgasbord. It's like spoiled for choice here.
It is. We are spoiled for choice here. That is the brothers. Let's have Marty Cruz. I love Marty. I was at Whopper with Marty. Marty and Michael Gibson is be good as the brothers as well.
Yeah, Michael Gibson from last week.
So that's good. And then we're going to have... Now, we need a really fabulous narrator. So let's have... Oh, I love David Zippel. Let's have Bert Labonte as the narrator.
Yes.
Let's have Bert. In fact, Bert can play all the roles because I love Bert. He's so good and such a lovely human being. So, yeah, when everybody's sick, he can just understudy all the roles and he'll be great. He'll be really great. So, and Simon Burke would be good as the narrator as well. Yeah, that's my cast of Blood Brothers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I met Simon last year, and I was actually wearing this shirt. It was at the Red opening night.
Hey, I love Simon. Simon did the Maltby and Shire shows with us. He was great.
Oh, wonderful. When I met Bert Labonte years and years ago, I went up to it. I said, "You're Bert Labonte, yeah?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Your voice, man. Shit." And I just walked away.
Yeah.
It's like, I had nothing to say to him because, oh my God, that voice. Yeah. But anyways, oh my God, I don't have a segue. Oh no. Oh God. Anyways, it looks like Miss Bird has flown away. So we're going to go to an ad break. G'day listeners, Aaron here. I'm not going to have any bloop news updates this week because unfortunately things happening in the world have taken precedence, and on this show we've had many guests from Los Angeles and some of those guests have had to evacuate, so I just wanted to send a message to them that we're thinking about them. My heart is with them. I've reached out to everybody and I've heard back from pretty much everybody so far, which is a relief, obviously. But I wanted to let our listeners know that you at home, no matter where you are in the world, you can help this situation and donate to the animal shelters around Los Angeles and Southern California, who are now taking in a whole bunch of animals that are displaced. So what I'll do is I'll put a link below to a Newsweek article that lists all the animal shelters that are currently taking in animals. All these bullshit arguments online don't matter. What does matter is that there are innocent lives involved, and much of those are animals. So let's all band together, donate to the animal shelters in Los Angeles and Southern California, and help them out in this incredibly devastating time. So again, to our past guests, I would list everyone, but I would just forget one or two people, and I don't want to forget anybody, but I have reached out to everyone. So everyone knows who they are, And to everyone listening, if you're in Los Angeles or California, my heart is with you as well. And everyone at Thrash and Treasure is thinking of you because we all know people in that area. Anyways, on that note, back to the episode. Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Steve, and we're closer than ever into the legend that is Dr. Kaye Tuckerman. Now, okay, we've established that you are a Jackie of all trades, but what's one thing you're terrible at that everybody else can do perfectly well?
Ooh. I was going to say ballet and bungee jumping, but I'm not sure that everybody just naturally is brilliant at ballet and bungee jumping.
Let's say, me too. Yeah, I'm not good at those.
Hey,
Yeah.
I was like, what is something that... Oh, okay. Okay, I have been vegan for a very, very long time, so I'm gonna say that people who just whip up a fabulous steak, a chop, a sausage sizzle, a Bunnings sausage sanger, I'm really not fabulous at cooking a steak of any sort. I really wouldn't have a clue. I really wouldn't have a clue of how to do any of that meat prep, cooking meat. I wouldn't. So yeah, if you're bringing your own, if it's BYO barbecue, it's also, you can BYO cooking it as well, because I wouldn't know.
99% of people don't know how to cook a steak. I'll tell you right now.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's not a common...
Like, I don't have to sit there and lie to them and be like, yes, I'm not at all suffering through this.
I don't know. I think here in America, they teach you that in kindergarten. I mean, you gotta...
You're born with barbecue tongs in
Yeah.
your hands, aren't you, in America?
Yeah.
Like...
You'd think that'd be the case here in Australia, but
Yeah.
steak, just people. Okay, so the grill has to be really, really hot for one thing. Now, you don't flip it over 50 times, people. You put it on there, you seal it, you flip it over the other side, you seal it, then you let it cook however you want it to be, then you flip it over again and cook the first sealed side, and that's it. You're done.
Basically.
Is that right?
So I'll have basically a char grilled on the outside, but medium raw, pink on the inside, cooked in cracked pepper. Oh my God, I want one now. Goodness gracious me.
Yeah, he's not wrong there.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not.
No. If people are vegan, great. If people are vegetarian, great. If you're pescatarian, great. If you are a hardcore, only eat red meat every meal of the day, look, knock yourself out. Okay.
I have a cheeseburger or a chicken burger every couple of days.
Do you?
Because I'm trying to gain weight.
So, okay, what is your traveling music? What are the artists and tunes that get you through time in the air or on the road or whatever that you can just put on and zone out, and then you're at your destination?
Michael Kiwanuka, the Home album. Nick Cave, Ghosteen. I could listen to that on repeat. In fact, I just did. I flew from Sydney to Hawaii to New York, and I had Ghosteen on loop for the whole
Nice.
time. Madeline Peru, Careless Love. I love that album. I think it's so good. If you haven't heard Laurie Anderson's new album, Amelia, woo, Laurie Anderson is the bomb. She is unreal. They would be the first ones that come to mind.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I have no opinions on any of those.
Yeah, I have no idea either, sorry. But 5 points for saying Hawaii.
I did say Hawaii. I love Hawaii. I could also listen to Hawaiian slack key guitar music on loop. I love Hawaiian slack key guitar. I think it's such a beautiful sound. I think the Hawaiian voices are such beautiful voices. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, I was a bit of a slut key in Hawaii.
You-
Sorry. I'm kidding. It was a joke, people. I was very well behaved when I was sober.
Sure, the lies you tell.
I kind of got kicked out of a club on my first night there. That's all I'm going to say.
Standing ovations, overdone or more the merrier?
Oh, this is a really interesting question. And I know it's been quite a controversial topic because in Australia, we tend to sit politely in the theatre and watch the show quietly and politely, and then at the end have a quite polite applaud and then leave. And I know that when people often tour to Australia, they're like, my God, do they hate it? And it's like, no, the Australians, I think, are the most such appreciative audiences and have such a wonderful time. And I think it's just culturally, it's almost like I want to respect the performers. I want to enjoy the show. I'm here actively listening and participating as an audience member. whatever. But that doesn't necessarily translate into screaming standing ovations mid-show.
No.
Whereas, say, in London, I think there's a certain politeness, yet a little bit more of an appreciation, maybe a little bit more of a standing ovation. And in Broadway, it's become more and more that shows are being built to have mid-show standing ovations. And, there's been a lot of discussion of, is it too much? And I think for American audiences and American performers, it's thrilling. But I think if you're maybe Australian and you're watching a show and there's 15 mid-show ovations, I think, what's going on? The question, I guess, is, does it break the flow of the show? Does it break the trajectory of storytelling? And if it does, should we or shouldn't we care? Is everyone having a great time? Sure. But I think then the question is, has the mid-show standing ovation now become ownership of the audience, and the audience just want to do it because they want to make it about them?
They always talk about this.
It's like, I'm going to stand up and do my show now. It's like, sit down. You paid $300 to see Ben Platt. Sit down. We paid to see him.
Yes, it's pre-planned. It's a pre-planned experience that they planned it at home. I'm going to scream at this song, and I'm going to stand up at this song, I'm going to sing along at this song, and I'm going to do this at this moment. It's all pre-planned before they go in. And you see the comments online. You see them, building up to it.
So I think it's a bit of a multiverse there of what the purpose of it is and who is designing the mid-show ovation. Is it purpose designed by the creative team, or is it a pre-planned event? I don't know. I'm curious.
I think you've hit on something here as far as the own personal performance of the crowd member, as far as mid-show. I've seen a lot of recent Broadway shows and over 50 of the Peter Pan tour recently because of my kid. But all my time in New York, we went to a lot of shows, and it was only at Sweeney Todd where people stood during certain songs and clapped. It was like, and everyone around was like, that's weird. Yeah. Why the hell are you doing that? The show's still going on.
It's not the show for it.
At the end of the entire show, standing ovation, they rocked it. Cool. To me, a standing ovation at the end is my extra appreciation for the job well done.
Yeah. But if they earned it.
But it is rather obligatory now, at least in America, that you are required to stand up at the end, even if the show sucked.
To leave. You're standing up because you got to go pee, kids. That's it. Like, I ask a lot of performers this, especially on this show, and it's the same deal of performers want to feel like they've earned it, because the standing ovation is an actual thing. It's not just the default. It's not the regular way to applaud at the end of the show.
Yeah.
It's meant to be representative of the cast, not just nailing it. They blew all over the stage, splurged in all our faces, use a horrible metaphor, but that's what it's for.
As a parent of the kid on stage, we saw many shows of my son's, and it was a rush for us of when the crowd stood up during the curtain call. It felt just amazing that when my son ran out on stage, did his bow, half the crowd stands up. I mean, they stand up in full for Captain Hook and Peter, of course, but when he ran out as Michael Darling and just you see the crowd erupt, it was just an amazing feeling. That's my son.
And you make me feel like a prick.
But that one moment though in Sweeney Todd in New York, everyone was looking at these people like, what the hell's wrong with you? The show is still going on. Sit your ass down.
That's really interesting, because I imagine that Sondheim and the level of writing and the flow and trajectory of storytelling in those pieces does not require a showstop.
No.
Whereas you have, the extraordinary Casey Nicholaw, who, in Something Rotten has that insane moment. It's built to stop the show for everybody in the audience and the entire company just to have this first act, like standing ovation, because Casey builds these moments that are so involved and fantastic and, gets everybody excited.
Grandiose,
and, but if it's, I don't know, if it's performative and it's like, and it doesn't seem to need to be there, like, I don't know.
If it's built in, I'm all for it. Like when Peter Pan, when he's like got Tinkerbell and like everybody clapped to bring Tinkerbell back to life. That's beautiful. And you've got little girls that are standing up on their seats clapping. That's heartwarming.
Like, I love that.
But just because this lady made a pie out of a person, that's not, I mean,
well,
you can clap loudly at the end of the song, yes, but don't stand.
Yeah.
To be fair, if it's a really delicious pie, then I'll probably applaud it.
Annalee Ashford did nail that role though, so it was great.
I mean, Annalee Ashford was unreal, and I think she made the pie out of brilliant Australian actor Jamie Jackson, who was the judge. So I'm sure that would have been a delicious pie. And Jamie is a tremendous actor, and Jamie needs to be in everything, so including pies.
I think it's interesting you say the word performative.
Yeah.
I want to say something a bit harsher though, and maybe use the word delusional, because it kind of feels like a lot of the times people are seeing things and it's just the greatest thing ever. And that's why they have to applaud it, like, because they have no other frame of reference or something, or just they're under the delusion that it was the most greatest thing ever, even though it was the 17th fucking tour of Les Mis, you know? And they've seen the same production over and over and over again, and it was done exactly the same way over and over and over again. It's just, I don't know, they've just told themselves maybe it's the ticket prices that are so expensive that they have to feel like it was the greatest thing ever. So I don't know, it's weird. I saw it at Chicago, the opening night of Chicago. I saw the audience at the end of that didn't really want to stand up at the end of that, even if the production was fantastic and the performances were fantastic. It's the same production that we've seen time and time again, the bare bones production. It didn't earn a standing ovation, and it felt like the audience didn't want to give one, and it looked regimental and awkward, and it's like they're, you know, shit, I better taking their time bloody getting up. Casey Nicholaw, okay, he's an amazing director, and all due respect to him, and he should totally come on this show, but to build in a standing ovation moment, is that a genuine standing ovation, or are you manipulating the audience there? Again, this is a thing. This is meant to be an actual thing. It's a time-tested thing. It's meant to be a thing that the cast and the crew and everybody knows that they didn't just nail it. They went above and beyond, outside the park, across the freaking state. That's how good they were. They're not going to be that way the night before, and they're not going to be that way the next night. That's what it's meant to be for. Sorry, I'm very, very passionate about this.
But I think there's some interesting things.
The old grump, bar humbug.
Well, it's fair. No, but I think there's some, like, I mean, you're talking about like the science of somatic energy, and like the studies that are done in when you have that interconnected space of performance and the energy of performance on stage that filters across an audience, and you literally have like energetic science there of how people are interacting and responding with all their multisensory function to what is happening in that theatrical space. But then you also now have this curious place where we've landed with humanity, with individualism. And so there's a little bit of because individualism now is based on people looking at digital screens and not actually responding literally face to face, and literally comprehending facial expression, vocal expression, all the multisensory functions. It's digital, so that when somebody now goes into a theater and is engaged in a theatrical space, in a theatrical experience, the amygdala and the neocortex of the brain is so on fire that there is a little bit of a strange sort of response, either a hyper response or a disassociated, disconnected response to what is actually happening in the moment, because the way we've moved our function as human beings to digital media, the amygdala of the brain is responding differently to an immediate experience, like emotional experience in the theatrical space. So people do actually stand up and have ovations, because there's not necessarily a cultural, socialized comprehension of how to behave in a theater. So, and I know that, some people now are saying, hey, turn your phones off. Just sit in shared space for 90 minutes.
Off.
Yeah.
Not silent, kids.
Off.
That's not hard. All right.
It's going to be okay.
We got along fine for decades before mobile phones.
Yeah.
We would go to the theater or the cinema, and we didn't need to know that Nana Virginia had bloody died. All right. We waited till we got out of the cinema, and then we found it. Even then, we had to get home to find out. We didn't have mobile phones to find out at the time. We got along fine.
No, but the data that's been collected on engagement to digital devices say if you're rehearsing and then you're on a 15-minute break, you go outside, you get on your phone. Once you come back from your 15-minute before you even go on your break, you're already thinking of your phone. Then you go on your break, you're engaged on your phone for 15 minutes. Then you come back into the rehearsal space. It takes 10 to 15 minutes for you to disengage with what you were thinking about on your phone. So you're not present. People are not present in space anymore. People are not present with it. This is a bit boring. We were talking about Dannii Minogue before, and now we're talking about digital media. So here we go. We're talking about your dog needing to go to the toilet. They're the important thing.
No, you're absolutely right. And even going to countries like Vietnam and China and stuff, we're on a bus going through the countryside and people on their freaking phones the whole time. Anyways, we're running way over time, so we're going to move on. So you made your Broadway debut in Summer, the Donna Summer musical, where you played her songwriter, Pete Bellotti. Now, this is really interesting to me. Did they contact you and say, we want you to play a man? Or did you put your hand up and say, I want to play a man? Like, how does this come about?
Yeah, no, it was a really cool concept. So the first iteration of the show was at Signature Theatre in New York. Then we had a break and we went to La Jolla. Then we had a break and we went to the Lunt-Fontanne on Broadway. So the whole concept of the show was that you've got the brilliant Des McAnuff, the brilliant Sergio Trujillo, and they, of course, are known for Jersey Boys. They were also in the works with Ain't Too Proud. And what they sort of then went, hey, we've got the Donna Summer musical. What they realized from Jersey Boys and from Ain't Too Proud was that a lot of their product involved pretty much all male casts. And they were like, we're seeing all these brilliant women. How do we incorporate all these women? So I remember when the casting brief came out and my audition was actually for Giorgio Moroder, and I went, very interested, but can I just check this is not a typo? And they went, no, the whole cast is women. Women will be playing men, will be playing children, will be playing old people, will be playing women. Women were just going to be the whole cast. Father ended up having to be, it was cast by a male actor.
There you go.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. We were just talking about Peter Pan. What have you been doing?
I just finished church.
Nice. Good. That's a good thing to do on a Sunday.
Bye. Go have fun. I'll be done soon. Sorry about that.
No, he's so gorgeous. We should all be at church, but we're here. Aaron should be at church at 4 a.m.
Yes.
He usually is. So, no, they had Aaron Crone, Ken Robinson, who's currently doing Gypsy on Broadway. Fabulous Drew Foster came in to play Helmut, and Harris Turner played the preacher. So other than that, I played Pete Bellotti. In the end, I played Don Engel, who was one of her lawyers. I played the pimp. I played a roller skater. I played all sorts of things, and the roller skater was female. Very strong choice. Yeah, the theory was like, how do we incorporate more women and hire all these fantastic, women like, Jenny LaRoche is doing Smash at the moment, Aurelia Michael, who's just been doing Wonderful World, Afra Hines, who's just doing everything. Just extraordinary people. And then you've got, LaShans, who I just love, Ari DeBose, and Storm Lever, who's been doing Six, and Ari's filming Scarpetta with Nicole Kidman at the moment, and LaShans is directing a show down at Classic Stages. So, got these brilliant women. So that was their whole concept. Yeah. And then Paul Taswell, who is the costume designer for Wicked, the movie, who's about to win an Oscar. He has to win. Paul Taswell's the most fantastic person. So his whole costume design was how to find androgyny, how to sort of morph into men, how to be able to rip off costumes and, be women. Like, I think I had the fastest costume change in the show. I think it was 19 seconds.
Oh, wow.
I had to get out of a 4-piece suit into a 4-piece suit and back on stage. So I had 4 dresses, and literally everything was quick rigged. I'd walk off stage, everyone would just rip everything off, put something back on. Yep. I'd sit on a chair and be pushed back on. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really brilliant.
Michael Gibson, our guest from last week, when he did Our House in 2003, he got the world record for the biggest number of quick changes, and he had 29 throughout the show.
You've had numerous successful projects directed by you, where you were also an actor, plus designing, producing, writing, wearing so many hats on the same project. How do those hats differentiate, and how quickly do you need to swap them out on a regular filming day, or do you keep them all on at once?
Yeah, that depends on the project. I mean, a lot of people don't know with my other resume is that I have an African Film Academy Award for production, nomination for production design. So and a background in interior design and makeup design. So it really depends on the project. And if if it's a small thing that I'm like, I just want to create this, I'll just, bust out all the hats and put them all on the same time and just whip up a small creative project. But if it's, a big project, like feature films in Africa, it's like I'll just oversee departments and then, I'll have my keys on each department, whether we've got key makeup, key art department, key wardrobe, and I'll just supervise all of them. So it really depends on the budget, depends on the scale of the project. And if it's a passion project, it's just like, let's just do it. You call a couple of mates, it's like, bring the cameras. I've got my makeup kit. I've got a small script. Like, you're an actor, great. We'll just whip something up.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like, the health films that we just did in Seattle, like directing those. We had 5 days of filming. The first day we did 13 interviews with health workers, and then the next 4 days we did 2 short films a day. So we were literally turning around short films in 4 hours. So things like that require a really good run and gun team, really good sense of humor, people who can laugh when they're really exhausted, and people who are just prepared to really go all in on the project and really passionate about what the outcome of the project is going to be. Believe in for this one, it was about health workers and emotional intelligence and, mental health in the health field. And these personal stories are so great. And so when you believe in something like that, it's just like, okay, we're going to be really tired, but let's just do it.
Right.
And, we're in post with those films, for example, at the moment, and they're just beautiful. Yeah, sometimes a sense of humor. A sense of humor would be the key, I think. When you're doing something so nuts and you don't have budget, or you've got low budget, and there's just no time for rubbish. You just got to be able to go, right, that didn't work very well. Let's try that one again, shall we? Good.
That's how to do passion projects.
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing people, not hearing, but seeing people tweet, oh, I want to do this thing or that thing, but I don't have the budget, or someone give me money. You don't need it, kids. You all have a phone. Just go out and do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing now, when people were trying to get Super 8 cameras, back in the 80s, I encourage people to go on eBay and find those fabulous Super 8 cameras and film on them, because they're unreal. They look so good. And yeah, now you can do them with filters and stuff like that and get that look. But, get those old cameras and play with them. They're so good. But if you're a creative and if you want to go and, just get out there, it doesn't have to be, you're not making Wicked. It's like The Matrix. Even when they tried to make the first Matrix movie, no one knew what it was. Then they got the the Japanese anime artist to draw it, and everyone went, oh, great, here's $60 million. You don't need $60 million. The 2 and 3, I think they had $600 million or something nuts, But now, I have the Voices of Women International short film and script festival, and we've been going through all the submissions at the moment, and we have a low budget section. Some of the quality in these low budget films, first of all, if the quality is or isn't good is irrelevant. If the idea is good, you create that thing and you just go, oh, the idea is so fantastic that it outweighs everything. Then if you've got good sound, that's what you want to be better than anything. Then if you've got good visual on top of that, then you've got thumbs up. But some of these films are made for $100. We've got submissions from France, Iran, Denmark, Netherlands, all over the place, Australia, USA. These films are unbelievable, and it's just someone's creative idea with a cell phone or a small camera, nothing fancy. Just get out there and do it. There is no excuse anymore. And it's just that fear of going, oh, what if it's not very good? Who gives a shit? Just make it. Make something. Do something for yourself. Get out there. Don't wait for the phone to call. Don't wait for your agent to go, hey, someone, wants to see you for an audition. Make it yourself. Create your own work. Create your own content. Enjoy doing it. So, does that answer the question? I just went on a...
Absolutely.
I went to church then.
Yes. No, good. I love that. It's one of those hats, though, a sleeping cap.
Many people have said, do you sleep?
I'm not saying you look tired. Oh my God, no. That's not why I say it. I ask a lot of my guests. It's just something I've said. And now you said that, I'm so conscious, and I thought, No, that's not why I said it. I ask everybody or say it to everybody.
There's a reason why I'm wearing my glasses today. And what I'm finding fascinating at the moment is that I'm dealing with New York time zone, Santa Fe time zone, LA time zone, Sydney time zone. I'm helping a friend at the moment in Singapore time zone. I'm also working with the fabulous Catherine and Nane in Nairobi. So we got a lot of time zones going on there.
Yes.
And sometimes that means, like you, Aaron, you're just like, hey, it's 3 a.m. Sometimes that means, well, that's just part of the gig. So
Exactly. That's when you're most awake, doing your best work.
yeah.
All right. So the other day, you and I went on a little bit of a deep dive or a bit of a nostalgia trip about Young Talent Time. And there is someone from that and someone from Australia who has had, over the years, numerous iconic hairdos. But you had the nerve to sell your hair to Miss Dannii Minogue.
Hey there! It's time to get popped on culture, the official Puzzle Hub pop quiz podcast. And welcome to game number 5. I'm your new host, Matt Young, and for today's special theme, we're going to test your knowledge on musical groups, including bands, boy bands, girl groups, and vocal ensembles. Play against your friends or the clock and see how you go. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Next up, we've got our pop quiz. 10 trivia questions based on today's theme, and maybe a few bonus points if you're lucky. You'll have 5 seconds to guess the answer. So, ready for question number 1? Zach, Taylor, and Isaac are members of which group? Hanson. Of course, they're famous for Mbop. Crash Test Dummies were formed in which country? Canada, or as I like to say, Canadia. Third question. Finish this album title. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the... The answer is Sex Pistols. The album is the 2020 debut album by which K-pop group? Blackpink. Jada Pinkett Smith performs lead vocals for which metal band? Wicked Wisdom. Said and Done was the 1995 debut album by which boy band? Boyzone. 7th question. According to Wikipedia, the Beatles were the last band to top the US Billboard end-of-year album charts. In which year did they achieve this? (2001). Which 3 opera singers made up the operatic supergroup The Three Tenors? 1 point for each correct answer. It was Placido Domingo, Jose Carreras, and Luciano Pavarotti. Are you ready for this one? Mesopotamia, Funplex, and Rock Lobster are hits by which band? The B-52s. And finally, in which year did ABBA form? That's right, the year I was born, 1972. And time's up. How did you go on that round? And how'd you go overall? Add up your scores and let us know on Twitter. And be sure to check out our other shows on the Bloop Network, especially Thrash and Treasure, where you'll hear incredible interviews with genuine icons of stage and screen. So until the next game, I've been Matt, you've been popped on culture, and I shall see you next time. See ya!
Someone from Australia who has had, over the years, numerous iconic hairdos, but you had the nerve to sell your hair to Miss Dannii Minogue. What?
I did. It's such a good story that, because when I did Superstar, I had hair down to my butt, but there's a few long hair photos somewhere, but it was down to my butt.
Are you in the pro shop?
I don't.
They filmed it, but they didn't release it. But it kind of got leaked.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Don't tell anyone. So then when I was, fast forward and I've still got my really long hair and I'd always wanted to have it cut off. And so I'm doing Boy From Oz and the amazing Roger Kirk, who designed the look for that show. So brilliant. And he says, okay, we're going to have the sound packs for our microphones. We're going to be built into our wigs. So we would put our wig caps on and we would put our mic packs at the base of the back of our heads. And then we put wigs for every scene over. And I was like, wait. So you're telling me that my hair is never going to be seen? And he's like, yeah. And I said, great. In that case, then, can I have all my hair cut? Can I get my hair cut? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So I was like, great. So I went home and I went to the hair cutter that night. I think it was a Thursday night, late night shopping in Sydney. And I said, just cut it off. And she was like, well, no, we should go in stages. I'm like, nah, just cut it off. And so I went from butt length hair to a pixie crop and went back in the next day and they went, oh shit, you
actually meant it.
Cut it. I was like, yeah, I asked. And they went, yeah, we know. And we said yes, but we didn't realize you meant cut it. So anyway, then I had this bag of hair, this long plait, and I was like, what will I do with this? I had this weird plait sitting on top of my piano. And then I had a wig fitting because I was understudying Chrissy Amphlett to play as Judy Garland. And I was like, oh, I'll just take the plait along to see Annette at the 3 a.m. wigs. And I said, oh, can you do anything with this? It's literally been sitting on my piano for a couple of days. And she was like, oh, this is perfect. I needed some extra hair for a wig. And I'm like, cool. What wig is it? She goes, oh, it's Dannii Minogue's Rizzo wig. And I'm like, great. So then I'm doing Boy From Oz at the Madge, which is no longer there in Sydney. And then the Grease Company come into the entertainment centre with Dannii as Rizzo. And during a matinee break one day, a bunch of us went down to the entertainment centre to hang backstage with the Grease crew. And I was backstage with Susan Ann Walker. Oh. And Dannii came in. And, she's all wig prepped and stuff. And Susan Ann goes, hey, Dannii, remember the story about the hair? And she was like, yeah. And Susan Ann's like, this is Kaye. This is whose hair it is. This is whose hair is in your wig that you wear as Rizzo. And Dannii and I just looked at each other blankly. And it was so weird that we were just like, I don't even know what the conversation is. Lovely to meet you. Goodbye. And we just sort of awkwardly walked away. And then Susan Ann said, the show that night was particularly weird because Dannii just was like, wearing this person's hair on my head. This is so weird. So that was my meeting with beautiful Dannii Minogue. I love her. She's great. She has the most beautiful eyes. The most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful crystal blue eyes. She's just gorgeous.
Wow, that is iconic. Now, Susan Ann Walker is a name that I remember from
I love
my
Susan Ann.
acting class. 1996, 97 or something. We used to have special guest teachers come in.
Yeah.
I always remember that name because it was Suzanne Ann. Yeah. Like it was the two Anns.
Suzanne Ann. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't
as kids we found it funny.
Yeah, it wasn't Sue-Ann. It was Susan-Ann. So the two Anns were in there, but Susan Ann, Sue Ann Walker. Yes, Susan Ann Walker. She's fantastic. She's been doing an amazing show about crazy cat ladies with the brilliant Margie DeFerranti. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant.
Oh, that was random.
You have a long list of bona fides and you've been a non-stop workforce throughout the whole thing. But these days, an unlearned person can switch on a phone, record themselves, and suddenly they are a filmmaker, comedian. They're branded whatever by the media or whomever, even though they may not be qualified, but they're branded that way. While professionals who haven't yet qualified are like not getting the recognition, like a Wikipedia page or anything else that they they deserve. Do you think that if you were in your early 20s today, would that passion to learn and gain all the different skills still be there?
Yeah, 100%. It's just probably a different medium. And I think digital media has really, it's a different thing. There's a big conversation at the moment about AI and, there's a lot of danger of AI and there's a lot of quite fascinating, even in the health field with the way they're using AI to pre-develop how they can potentially do operations and stuff like that. There's some interesting, when it's used for good, There's some interesting stuff. So yeah, I think creativity is creativity. I think there's been a shift in terms of the balance of creativity versus commerce. What is purely for commerce? What is purely for creativity? How somebody who is excruciatingly creative can make the mega bucks from the commerce aspect. But then, if I think one of the greatest creatives ever in existence would be somebody like David Lynch. So to lose that creative voice, but you listen to the way Lynch speaks, and it's just like, I have an idea, I'm going to create it. And there's no caveat. It's not to make $1 bazillion. It's not to, it's commerce is not the pure drive of David Lynch's work. It's about the idea. It's about the process. So you're always, I think, going to have that seesaw of, are you a commercial artist? Are you an influence? And like now the term, are you an influencer? What does that even mean? I don't know. I'm a non-influencer. I aim to influence no one.
I couldn't even influence my way out of a plastic bag, so.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's a really interesting time. And I think when you have like the mega force of Broadway, how do you balance creativity and commerce? Because it has to be a commercial enterprise. Those Broadway producers have to make money so that Broadway keeps going. But where do you sacrifice one for the other? If you're an influencer and your gig is to just fly around the world and get, contra deals at 5-star hotels and do a video of yourself by the pool, sounds great to me. I guess that sounds perfect. But then there's other creators who are just like, I really could not be less interested in any sort of exposure. I just want to sit in my studio and make jewelry, or sit in my studio and paint. And when I go, you can find my storage unit with 50,000 paintings in it. And I think you've got to find what your creative bent is for yourself. I think you've got to find, what price you put on that, and whether that's an emotional price or whether that's a monetary price or whether it's a slighter scale of both. So yeah, I think if I was in my 20s now, I think I'd be all over social media. I think I'd be so fascinated by it. Yeah.
But all the studying.
Yeah.
Like you've done years and years and years of studying.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd like that.
You are.
But look, we were talking about one of the amazing casting directors here, the fabulous, super lovely Craig Burns. He posts Broadway nostalgia and wonderful, antiquities. And he posted a picture of Colony Records in New York, which is the famous record store. And I remember it being at WAPA, and I would call them every Friday. It probably cost me $50,000 to make the phone call. And it was I was like, what's come in this week? And they're like, okay, let me tell you, there's this new cast recording. You got to get it. Now, the sheet music is available. The new Theater Week magazine has come in. There's an album that's coming out, but you'll need to call us next week to see if we've got it. We had cassettes, albums. They would tell me about music selections, every single thing. And I would get that posted to Perth from New York. And so now you go on the interweb and karaoke tunes are available immediately of all the latest releases. And I think one of the sad things of that is I don't think people listen to full albums anymore. I think they listen to the one song that they're going to learn, that they're going to belt their face off and sing that one song, rather than the song in the full context of the full show and how that whole arc of the show works with everybody. So, but yeah, I think I'd be all over it. All over it. Yeah.
Just on that, artists are never settled or satisfied. And just looking at your resume, which for listeners at home is 14 pages long. Anyways, I use 4 in the introduction, but the thrill of the chase looks just as thrilling as any mountain peaks that any artist can conquer. So what are you chasing? Because clearly looking at it, I can't tell. I can't pick it. What's your end game here?
For me, creativity is creativity. For me, it's finding the seed of what that creative project is and how to participate in that creative development of that work, and, connect with amazing creative people and, riding that creative wave together. And so, yeah, I want to direct more films. I want to write more films. I want to do Broadway again. I want to finish school.
And nap.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you talk about, the times before phones and devices and stuff, and how creativity has changed with those devices, and how creativity continues to change, and what becomes, a pursuit of modernism modernism and postmodernism and the current and what becomes vintage and retro. And it's just hilarious now to think of a time before cell phones is now vintage and retro. It's like hilarious. But, creativity is creativity. And we have to, as human beings, keep creating. We have to keep living in that dreamscape. We have to balance the world. The way we think on the planet is so linear to keep up with digital technology. And we have to keep looking at ways that we can continue to incorporate non-linear creative thinking. And we saw a bit of it during the pandemic. Remember that global pandemic where everything shut down, and all of a sudden overnight we went, okay, we're shut down. How creatively do we deal with this? And we saw during that time, but people all of a sudden were spending time baking sourdough, crocheting, doing macrame. Suddenly they pulled out their pencils or a little watercolor set that they'd never done anything creative for years. And all of a sudden people are like, my God, I'm having such a beautiful time reconnecting with creative thinking. And it changes the way, if you're only thinking linear, I need to do this. This is fact. This is black and white. This is yes and no. I can put this into a logical linear format. If you're only thinking that way and never incorporating imagination, intuitive thinking, dreamscape, what if, I don't know what the answer is. When you remove that entirely, you just become like robotic. You become automatic and automaton in your thinking. You're not present. And so, yeah, I think it's just continue to find ways to be creative. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
As in, you want to still be chasing it without an actual end game.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's, like back to David Lynch. David Lynch would be like, I don't know. The idea came. He says in this, he did this brilliant lecture series with, the Transcendental Meditation people in the Maharishi University. And, one of the first things he says, it's like, let me say, just don't ask me anything you want. Just don't ask me about the baby. And he talks about the baby in Eraserhead. And he's just like, I don't know. And I don't have to explain what that means, and I think this notion of being so linear about, well, what does it mean? It's like in a creative landscape, figure out what it means for yourself. Who gives a shit if it's, like what is Donna really saying in The Winner Takes It All? You're going to have some actors who say Donna wins. You're going to have some actors play it that Donna is yearning to marry Sam. Creative interpretation is okay. Having a difference of opinion of what the creative outcome is okay. Being able to discuss points of difference is okay. But if you're all just going, well, yes, let's think about this in a linear way. No, don't think about creative pursuits in a linear way. Analyze the creative aspects of the art. Like if you go to the Guggenheim and you do the talks or the course on Kandinsky, they'll talk, well, Kandinsky, there were different symbolisms within the art. You can interpret the color how you want to interpret. You can interpret the line how the shape of the line how you want to interpret it. But for Kandinsky as a synesthete, he's interpreting how he hear the color. The violin was the color yellow, and as a synesthete, that's how he was interpreting. So you can learn to understand where he was going with his art. Picasso, we talked about the cave paintings. All of Picasso's work was based on primitive art, on tribal art. He learned to be, a very a realistic portrait artist, but then reduced to what was only necessary in the linear landscape on the page, the line work on the page. And that's where all the cubist work came about, So we're always developing, always finding new ways, whether it's performance art, whether it's portrait art, whether it's drawing, whether it's pastel work, whether it's singing, whether it's a concert, whether it's music, whether it's symphonic, whether it's thrash metal. How do we David Lynch will talk about grabbing the big fish. How do we grab the big fish of the idea and lean into what that created? How are we creatively evolving that into a tangible landscape?
Yeah, I think that's why Better Man, the Robbie Williams movie, has bombed, because so many people are going, oh, what does this all mean? It's like, it's just a fucking monkey, man. That's it. Just go watch the movie.
They're trying to figure it out. And that you've got the brilliant Michael Gracie, who's an incredible visual artist. And it was written by one of the writers on that was the brilliant Simon Gleeson, Australian, and an incredible performer, incredible creative. And, you could look at someone like Simon Gleeson and just go, he's one of the best singers in Australia. His Valjean was second to none. And then you go, oh, well, look at that. He's just writing this amazing screenplay, which is filled with nonlinear ideas, filled with, forcing the audience to interpret, to understand, to to come up with their own ideas about what it means. And that's where we live in this creative world. But if you need it to be spoon-fed to you, did you get it? Yes. You go, well, you're not thinking creatively. You're not using your imagination. You're not tapping into the non-linear and the intuitive ideas of how you personally experience the music. I mean, like we're talking about, Rhapsody. It's like for you, it was like, it's a 2.5. And for me, it was, I just was blown away by it, absolutely blown away. So, it's okay to have a difference of opinion.
Something we hear a fair bit about from our British and Aussie guests is the culture shock they get when they suddenly start working in the slightly more regimental process of American theatre. Was that a learning curve for you along the way? And how often did you put your foot in it?
There's a few angles to answering that. A
Yep.
sense of humor definitely doesn't necessarily translate.
Nope.
Use of some of our swear words, which are literally like they and, they're just peppered words,
Yes.
doesn't necessarily translate.
Nope.
Ripping out your best joke usually isn't funny at all.
No.
But that's interesting about the regimentation. That's interesting because what I've found, and one of the reasons I was very keen to work in New York was because I love working on the development of new work, because there's nothing on the canvas. And so you have to have the courage to be the first ones to make an offer, to put that, the brush stroke on the canvas and go, I don't know, does this work? Maybe not. Maybe we try something different, or maybe we keep it. Who knows? So I love that aspect. And I think with that aspect of developing new work, the regimentation is different because you're living in a creative space of what ifs. And it's not until you get through that creative process when all the ideas have been, fleshed out, and this works, we're putting that one on hold, this works. So that's where the regimentation start and the packaging of the show starts to come in,
Yep.
And so for Australia, and if things are transferring to the UK, that show is already locked and loaded. It's coming as the package. I've done shows in Australia where they go, okay, you're track 5. So it's not like, yes, and what's my creative outlet? How will I? It's like, none, you're track 5.
Yep.
This is what you will do.
That's it. You stand there, you move a certain way, you sound a certain way.
That's what you do.
Exactly how they did on Broadway.
100%. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a criticism. It's like this show works as it is. This is how it's structured. This is what we know works. This is what people know. The show is packaged like this. Audiences are buying tickets because they know that that's what they're going to see. And so there's a certain regimentation in that where the, where you as the performer is, being trained into that track. Whereas I think Australians are, some of the best workers on the planet. The Australian work ethic is incredibly strong, incredibly committed. Technique, like triple threat technique, is the Australians, I think, are unmatched. I think unbelievable. The English theatre tradition of really coming from that beautiful theatre acting tradition, like, you watch plays on National Theatre at home, or you go to the National Theatre or the Shakespeare, Royal Shakespeare, and the level of acting is off the charts, absolutely off the charts. And then you get to the Americans, the technique, you have not like their technique is off the charts. Because it's such a business here, because like say in Australia, I'd almost say that the emphasis is on show business, whereas in America, the emphasis is show business. It's a business. You can make a business out of this. You can make a career out of this. It is, if you want to make money, you can friggin' make it. And part of that comes with the ferocity of how committed the Americans attack the work, attack their singing lessons, attack their acting lessons, attack their dance classes, like go and see everything that they can. They are in class literally 24/7. And that level, it's electric. To be in in class and in auditions and on stage with the Americans is unbelievable. So yeah, it's interesting, like the notion of rigorous, regimented ferocity. It's pretty fascinating.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think, but there's also a bit of a shift to incorporate a lot more mental health. Again, because when you're working at that elite level, I think the professional sports people go through this as well. And even, I was talking to the health workers about this as well, the level of burnout, the level of stress, the level of exhaustion, and how you balance those worlds, as a human being, and the expectations of, where a lot of these Broadway shows are at. It's freaking exhausting. And, physically and mentally, and then, how do you balance life with that as well? And so I think, the pandemic taught everyone to slow down a bit, to be a bit kinder.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Really?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Really?
Look around. People are not.
Really?
They're angry and maybe right at first, but then it became, wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask. Wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask. You can't control me. And it snowballed. Yeah.
That's interesting because I think Victoria did really go through it. That's really interesting.
Mhm.
That's true. Yeah, I think because in New York, in this really high density living, everyone was like, oh shit, So I don't know. But I mean, look, human beings will be human beings. Like we're primal creatures, you're either going to be an asshole or you're not. And, you find your tribe and, yeah, it's an interesting one. So I don't know. But I mean, look, it's not a career for the faint-hearted for sure.
And you can't be too sensitive.
Yeah, yeah. And that's interesting too, because to do it, you have to be sensitive because you need to be a master of emotion.
Isn't that ironic?
It is.
Like, you also have to be tough as nails and put up with so much shit. Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
things that you and I have talked about that I won't go into for the listeners because it's our private conversation, but there are some things that really do come across as personal. And whether or not it is just business, they do come across as personal, and you have to toughen up through that. And, and you're thinking you're the only one standing there and you're the only one copying that. So it does look personal. It feels personal. It probably is personal, but it is still just business. So you have to toughen up, but you also have to be in tune with your emotions and be sensitive and empathetic to other people that you are working with and come across.
Yeah, it's a really interesting catch-22. Yeah, and you have to be really on top of that. And you have to be 100 billion% in, and equally, like, if you're auditioning, you're 100% in, I want this role, and equally 100% out when you don't book it. So you're constantly on this seesaw. But again, that's why if you're creative and you have creative ideas, create your own work. Don't sit around waiting for somebody else to give you the gig. Just keep creating, keep enjoying what you do. And it doesn't always mean it's easy, because it's not, but yeah.
Like, I wrote novels, 3 of them, and trying to sell them is impossible. I spent 14 years on these novels. It is really, really hard because it's hard because emotionally and mentally you pour everything into things and you show it to the people you love, and they turn around and they're just like, meh. And as artists, we want people to see our art and hear our art and check out our art, and yet we're stigmatized if we promote, and if someone turns us down, we have to suck it up. We have to smile and say, that's all right, thank you, and we have to walk away. But there's nowhere else that people get to do. If someone dishes you up a meal and you say to them, this was awful, they sit there and fucking cry about it because you insulted them.
But it's interesting because I think, if you look at the structure of education, up until the age of about 6, you're praised for your shit paintings and your shit dance routine. You're having a great time. You're going, oh, look, I've done this painting. And everyone's like, oh, amazing. We're going to pin that on the wall. You think you're Kandinsky.
Yep.
And then you do a crap dance routine. It's like, oh, that was amazing. Can you do that for show and tell? That was fabulous. Then we come to about 7, and in the education system, there's this rude awakening where no one will do their singing or their painting. You'll sit at the table, do not touch a pencil, do not touch a ruler, do not do anything. And so all of a sudden there's this rude awakening, and this this major, like, anything creative is shit. And now we're going to learn to be linear thinkers.
Yep.
And so there's this devaluing of how we appreciate creativity, and it's really, because then once that's trained out of you, and, like you say, with your family members, you just go, hey, look, I've done my painting, or I've done my book, or I've written my novel. And they're like, oh, but have you made any money? Like,
yes,
because there's this clash. There's this clash.
True. Yes.
Oh, you're going to make money with
Yeah,
that?
and it's like I am a human, But the thing is, like, what really pisses me off is these passive-aggressive conversations that are from family, obviously, that are, oh, so have you made any money yet? No. Oh, why not? Well, did you buy a copy? Oh, no, not interested. The thing is, don't sit there and judge me for failing if you haven't believed in me to begin with. Because the fact is, the older I get, the less and less and less and less they believe in me. I'm clearly not going to make it now. So I am just a failure. So therefore, releasing novels and being like, hey, would you like to buy a copy? No, they're not interested in giving me money because that's all it is giving me money. It's not believing in me enough to succeed. And some people don't understand that is the real killer there, that there will be the judgments, that it'll be the looks, oh, he's never going to make it, the snide comments. And I hear them, but there's no belief.
Yeah, there you go. Because we've been trained, you don't make money from art. You've got to go and, get your job. And look, there's some sensible thinking in that. There's some practical thinking in that,
Yes, I should have been a lawyer, a doctor.
A doctor. Oh, you got a job, But, we can also look at the value of art. The feeling that creativity gives us as human beings. And it doesn't have, you can make your macrame owl and hang it on the wall at home. It made you feel good.
Yes.
You can bake your sourdough and eat a delicious slice. But it's, I don't know what's happening over here. I'm just going to take a photo. My boy cat is trying to have sex with my girl cat. And this is a very unusual segue. But anyway.
It's a whole other podcast.
It's a totally different podcast. But, anyone who follows Toby and Little Kaye, there's some action happening. Anyway. But look, they're being creative over there while we're talking about being, the value of creativity. And, that can mean just going for a walk. It can mean enjoy going to the botanical gardens and looking at the beauty of nature. It can mean getting out your pencil, just doodling. The study on doodling alone, they were doing studies with students in high pressure exam situations, people doing very repetitive jobs, just saying, hey, just while you're doing your studies or working, just doodle. Productivity and relaxation. There was a 70% increase in productivity and how stress decreased by just letting someone have a pencil in their hand and doodling. And so there's this, lovely stuff. Just be creative.
Yes.
You don't have, if you're a hobbyist, great, just create something. If you're a professional, go and create something. Do something for you, So I'm channeling and lecturing again.
No, that's it. But last question. Apologize to your wife for me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's been a great conversation. So I've enjoyed this. And I don't quite understand this question, but I'm sure it'll be explained to me. But when was the last time you had fairy bread?
Fairy bread. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you listening who are not Australian and do not know what fairy bread is, let us start. Fairy bread is an Australian staple at a party.
Mm-hmm.
At a party growing up, you will have a sausage sandwich, and that will be followed by dessert over birthday cake, and usually maybe a pikelet and a plate of fairy bread. Fairy bread is white bread, sun-blessed. The whitest, most processed bread you can find is the most preferable. You put butter on it, more likely some really sad margarine. Then what you do is, for some inexplicable reason, is you pour what we as Australians call hundreds and thousands. Here, I think they're called
sprinkles or nonpareils?
Nonpareils. Yeah, they're like the little tiny balls of coloured sugar.
Or sprinkles.
Sprinkles. And you pour that and cover the bread, and it sticks to it because it's in there. It sticks to the bread.
I had some
because
earlier.
There it is.
Oh my God.
That doesn't look very nice. That looks like scrambled eggs with really green. No, that's not a good example, Aaron. That's a terrible example.
It should be fancy and make a pattern with the colours.
So it's white bread and butter with sprinkles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Spot on. I had it before for dinner.
So when I saw the question, I was like picturing like the lembas bread from Lord of the Rings.
No.
Just a little square.
No, we're not fancy here.
No.
We're not fancy here. You give the kids, here is what it looks like. This is fairy bread.
But that's a non-pattern. I was trying to be fancy. You say it looks like an egg, a rotten egg.
It was yellow sprinkles. Who wants yellow sprinkles?
I'm gonna try this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna try this with my kids, and I'm gonna record the reaction.
Yes.
Yeah. It's, soda wasn't as big in Australia as it probably is now. And also soda, back 100 years ago didn't have as much sugar or corn syrup or whatever, these terrible processed things they put in soda.
Right.
So it wasn't as much as ever high. The fairy bread, however, I'm telling you, you've got sugar in the bread, complex carbohydrates, you've got margarine processed fat, and then you've got sugar, colored sugar,
Perfection.
just poured on top of it. So you have that at a little party, the kids go nuts.
And the adults.
And the adults. Yeah, I mean, they're sneaking it with their shardy and a little bit of fairy bread. So the last time I had it is I have a beautiful neighbor here.
Yeah, the actual question.
The actual question was, I have a beautiful neighbor here, and they are of Nigerian descent. We were talking of different, sweets and things. And of course, in Nigeria, they eat fabulous food. They don't eat rubbish like that. And they're like, no, what's fairy bread? So I said, listen, come over. So they came over. We made fairy bread, and I'm not sure they were impressed. I think they thought it was going to be something actually really good. And instead it was like...
Was it the balls or were the long ones?
No, the balls.
You see, that's why. Yeah, the balls aren't the fruit. You could have the long ones.
No.
Yes.
No,
this is the whole thing in Australia. Like, we've been doing this for years. Listeners at home, every Australian has this argument. It's the long ones. Trust. They're better. The balls are too hard for
fairy bread wars now, Aaron. So, Stephen, in closing statements, I recommend that this afternoon you go to a Wegmans and you find the hundreds and thousands and you pour them on some white bread and you give them to your family as dessert. And I'm telling you, it's going to change, or just dinner, fairy bread for dinner. And I think it's going to change your life. And then once you've done that, we're going to teach you about pikelets, and then we're going to teach you about chocolate crackles. Chocolate crackles, we'll make those. And then we're going to make honey joys.
One thing about fairy bread, okay, is as a kid, when you go to a party and you'd be like, oh my God, yes, fairy bread. You go up to it, you put it in your mouth, and it had fucking marmalade on it. Some arsehole put marmalade on it. Why? Why would you do that, dude? We're children, people. Goodness gracious, I am still traumatized by it now.
Banned. Marmalade is banned. And especially no fairy bread. Like, no.
I know. No. What's wrong with people?
No. No.
Like, there should not be anything else. It's margarine, sprinkles, hundreds and thousands.
I have learned so much today.
You have.
Just from the history of like the Australian fairgrounds to the widespread love of Kate Bush beyond my knowledge to hundreds of thousands is actually sprinkles to the wonderful world of fairy bread.
And they call them hundreds and thousands because there's hundreds and thousands of them.
I have learned a lot today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. It'll actually be the next podcast will be Australian desserts because we haven't even touched on toffees.
Wait, that's not a dessert?
Toffees.
This whole thing was not a dessert?
No.
That's the main course. If the school fates, maybe you'd be lucky enough to get a Lamington, but usually it was a toffee.
Lamingtons again, boring.
And it's a Lamingtons. Again, don't ruin the Lamington with jam. Don't ruin the Lamington with jam. Jelly for American listeners. No.
Bland as anything, dry and pavlova like that.
Oh, no, pavlova's wrong.
That's like literally egg whites fluffed up with fruit on it, and we call it cake.
Steak and eggs.
That's it. That's the cake.
Oh,
just give me some steak and eggs.
Oh.
But that's it. We made it through the torture chamber. So thank you so much. It truly is such an honor to sit here and listen to all these gobsmacking stories. Oh my God, goodness gracious me.
Thank you, Kaye. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I know you're leaving us today feeling really enriched.
I am. I'm going to go Google fairy bread and show it to my wife. Be like, all right, we got some experimenting to do. I'm going to submit it with Reed's next audition. This is... Here's this reel.
I have to have you back on in the future because there's still like 20 more questions that we crossed off. Anyways, you can find Kaye on the socials at Kaye Tuckerman. Look in the details below for everything and check out her website. It's got all her projects on there. Check out Stephen's show, Music Rewind Podcast, wherever you catch pods. Check out the Creationarium, and those episodes are called Mighty Movie Power Rangers. And I'm hopefully going to do a second season about something else completely different, maybe not to do with the arts. Buy the Toniston Tales, read the Toniston Tales from the tonistontales.com. We'll be back next week with another guest. That's it. You take care. Thank you for listening. And we shall see you next time. Uru!
Thank you. So lovely. Take care. We'll cross paths. I know it. Bye.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Like quicksand!
Reproduction.